Chapter 45-47. Hearing the news from Qiu, Lu Ming immediately flew over. Lu Ming, I found a mine underground. I feel that the metals in this mine are very high grade. I'm drooling just looking at them. Qiu shouted and flew around Lu Ming excitedly. Very high grade? More high grade than the ones we found before? Lu Ming's heart stirred and he quickly asked. Yes, they are all high grade. Much more high grade. They look delicious. Qiu shouted excitedly. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming was a little impatient. More high grade than the metals he found before. Could it be a material that could be used to forge soul-level divine weapons? Lu Ming followed the tunnel that Qiu dug and kept going down. This time, the tunnel that Qiu dug was very deep. Lu Ming felt that he had flown down for hundreds of thousands of miles before finally reaching his destination. He found that the depths of the underground were pitch black. From afar, it looked like night. Could this be the ore of Black Heaven source gold? Lu Ming's heart couldn't help but beat faster. Black Heaven source gold was an important material that could be used to forge soul-level divine weapons. Moreover, it was one of the two main materials used to forge soul-level divine weapons. The other material was called red blood origin gold. As long as there was enough Black Heaven source gold and red blood origin gold, as well as some other materials that were not as high grade, one could forge soul-level divine weapons. Of course, the success rate would be higher if ice fire star silver was added. This was a top-grade divine metal that could be used to forge soul-level divine weapons. He didn't expect to find such a large piece. Qiu, purify some for me to see, Lu Ming said. Without purifying it, he couldn't make an accurate judgment just by looking at the ore. Okay, but the metal content in this ore is very low. It won't be easy to purify it. It will take some time. With that, Qiu opened his mouth wide and chewed on the black ore. Large chunks of ore were swallowed by Qiu. However, it was clear that Qiu's biting speed was not as fast as before. Lu Ming gave it a try and discovered that the black ore was extremely hard. Lu Ming's palm was like a knife, but he could only cut off a palm-sized piece of the ore. Lu Ming's full-powered palm strike was even sharper than some master-grade divine weapons. Yet he was only able to slice off a small piece of it. One had to know that this was only or not a purified metal, yet it was still so hard. No wonder Qiu's biting speed was much slower. 2 hours later, Qiu had swallowed about 100 cubic meters of ore. It stopped and began to purify. After an entire day, Qiu spat out a large piece of impurities. Then a longan-sized piece of metal flew out of Qiu's mouth. Lu Ming grabbed it, and his arm trembled. So heavy. It was a piece of metal the size of a longan, but Lu Ming felt as if he had grabbed a planet. It's the Black Heavenly Source Gold. Sure enough, it's the Black Heavenly Source Gold. Ha ha ha, I'm rich. Lu Ming was ecstatic. Lu Ming, what is this metal called? It's really delicious, but I don't dare to eat it now. You keep it for me. After I refine the impurities, you can give it to me. Qiu's alley. It's called the Black Heavenly Source Gold. Don't worry, I'll keep it safe for you. Lu Ming smiled cunningly. Unfortunately, the naive Qiu couldn't tell and was immediately excited. This metal's level is too high. It's very slow for me to purify it. If my cultivation is higher, it will be faster. Lu Ming, you have to wait for me. Qiu's alley. It's okay. There's no harm in waiting. Lu Ming said, Okay, I'm going to go all out. Qiu pounced out excitedly and began to chew on the ore. Qiu, work hard. I'll find some broken source-grade divine weapons to compensate you later. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. Naturally, he couldn't give such a precious metal to Qiu. The Black Heavenly Source Gold was incomparably hard. If he could collect the red blood source gold Add the ice fire star silver and some other materials, he could find a refining master to refine source-grade divine armors. As for the broken source-grade divine weapons, although they also contained precious materials, they needed to be purified. Ordinary people couldn't do it at all. Only a top refining master could do it. It was too troublesome. He might as well give it to Qiuqiu. This time, Qiuqiu gnawed on a few thousand cubic meters of ore at once before it began to purify. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the spot and began to comprehend the primitive style. The primitive ring floated above Lu Ming's head. His spiritual sense entered the primitive ring and looked at the mountains and continents inside. The primitive ring might really be refined from a fragment of the primitive continent of the last era. Moreover, it was a fragment that was in good condition. It was completely different from the fragments in the universe ruins. He could see the scenery of the primitive continent of the last era. With this as a comparison, Lu Ming had a new understanding of the primitive style every time. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days had passed. Qiuqiu finally purified the ore it had eaten before and obtained a bowl-sized lump of black, heavenly source gold. Not bad, not bad. 10 more pieces of black, heavenly source gold of this size will be enough to refine and source-grade divine weapon. Lu Ming smiled and put this lump of black, heavenly source gold into the primitive ring. It was naturally safer to keep such a precious treasure in the primitive ring. Qiuqiu pounced again and gnawed on the black, heavenly source gold while Lu Ming continued to cultivate. However, a few hours later, he heard Qiuqiu's voice. Lu Ming, come and see. What is this? Qiuqiu shouted. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and appeared beside Qiuqiu in a flash. He looked forward. That is, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. There was an egg-sized crystal embedded in the ore wall covered in teeth marks. The crystal was milky white. Lu Ming could feel that the crystal contained an extremely dense energy. Furthermore, the crystal was constantly emitting strands of energy. Lu Ming was all too familiar with this kind of energy. Back then, he had refined a lot of it in the Supreme Immortal City. Primitive Qi. That's right. The energy emitted by this crystal was primitive Qi. In that case, this crystal was the primitive crystal. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely bright. He had never expected that this black heavenly source gold would contain a primitive crystal. He had guessed that this continent should have primitive crystals. Otherwise, it would not have nurtured so many plants. However, he had never found one before. He had not expected the primitive ring to be in the black, heavenly source gold ore. Lu Ming's palm was like a knife as he continuously hacked at the ore, chopping it off along with the primitive crystal. Then he broke off the edge of the ore, and a complete primitive crystal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Just by holding it in his hand, he could feel the surging and pure energy inside. End of chapter. Chapter 45-48. Qiuqiu. Continue refining the black heaven source gold. If you find this kind of crystal, let me know. Lu Ming instructed Qiuqiu before sitting down cross-legged. He was ready to absorb this desolate crystal to cultivate and see if the desolate crystal was effective. He held the desolate crystal with both hands and circulated the forbidden energy. A strong suction force was produced. Hoo, hoo, hoo. The desolate crystal produced a wind-like sound. Then, rich and pure energy continuously flowed into Lu Ming's body. Such pure energy. It's the same as the desolate pill. Lu Ming showed a hint of joy. The energy in the desolate crystal was similar to the desolate pill in the Thai Supreme Immortal City. It was extremely pure and easy to absorb. However, the energy in the desolate crystal was many times more concentrated than the desolate pill. The rich energy was like a river that flowed into Lu Ming's body continuously. Then it was refined by Lu Ming and turned into forbidden energy. Lu Ming used about an hour to use up all the energy in the desolate crystal. My cultivation has indeed improved a little. The desolate crystal is truly mysterious. Lu Ming secretly assessed his own cultivation level. He had an even greater desire for the primordial crystal. Just one desolate crystal had increased Lu Ming's cultivation a little. Of course, he was still very far from the second level of the Divine Master Realm. In the Divine Master Realm, increasing one's cultivation by one level required a huge amount of energy. Needless to say, Lu Ming had a forbidden body. The amount of energy required to increase one's cultivation by one level was even more terrifying. However, Lu Ming estimated that he only needed about 100 desolate crystals to increase his cultivation to the peak of the first level of the Divine Master Realm. As for how many desolate crystals he would need to break through to the second level of the Divine Master Realm, it was hard to estimate. I hope there are more desolate crystals in this area. Lu Ming showed an expectant look as he comprehended and waited. However, Qiu didn't find a second desolate crystal after eating a few hundred cubic meters of ore. This disappointed Lu Ming. Is there only one desolate crystal here? Lu Ming frowned as he pondered. However, there was no point in being anxious. He could only wait for Qiu to finish purifying before continuing to dig. It was impossible for him to dig by himself. The ores were too hard and the efficiency was too low. After spending an entire day, Qiu spat out another piece of black heaven source, gold the size of a rice bowl, and continued to chew on it. This time, it didn't take long before Qiu cried out again because it had discovered another desolate crystal. Lu Ming was delighted. It would appear that there was more than one great desolate crystal in this region. Instead, they were scattered all over the place. Lu Ming took down the great desolation crystal and continued to absorb and refine it. There was no need to store a treasure like the great desolate crystal. Once one obtained it, one had to refine it. Only by turning it into one's own strength would one be able to bring out its value. It did not take long for Lu Ming to absorb and refine the second desolation crystal. His cultivation base increased by another step. Just like that, Qiu excavated and refined ores while Lu Ming cultivated and waited. Soon, Lu Ming and Qiu had stayed here for 2 years. In 2 years, the amount of black heaven source gold that Qiu had extracted was enough to refine 4 origin-grade divine weapons. As for Lu Ming, he had obtained a total of more than 50 desolate crystals. After refining all of them, his cultivation base had increased tremendously. He was getting closer and closer to the peak of the first tier of the Divine Master Realm. Qiu estimates that there's about half of the black heaven source gold left in this region. If there are desolate crystals scattered all over, I can obtain about 50 more desolate crystals. That's enough for me to reach the peak of the first tier of the Divine Master Realm. Lu Ming revealed a smile. It was definitely a great opportunity to obtain such a harvest after only a few years in the cosmic ruins. He had obtained so many desolate crystals and black heaven source gold in a few years. If other Divine Master Realm existences knew about this, their eyes would turn purple with envy. It should be known that although the cosmic ruins was a treasure trove that contained endless treasures and opportunities, it was simply too big. Not to mention other things, just a random fragment of a continent was shockingly large. It was extremely difficult to find treasures in the vast ruins of the universe. Many people had wandered around the cosmic ruins for tens or hundreds of thousands of years without finding anything. Lu Ming could only obtain such a harvest because he had Qiu. Qiu was extremely sensitive to metallic materials and ores. Even if they were hidden hundreds of thousands of miles underground, it could still sense them. The disc array that Fei Huang had given Lu Ming to sense metallic materials could not sense such a deep region at all. Without Qiu, Lu Ming would not have been able to find the black heaven source gold and desolate crystals here, unless Lu Ming spent a large amount of time digging holes in the ground to search. However, if he did that, the time would have to be calculated in thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Just like before, Lu Ming comprehended the desolate style and battle formula while waiting for Cho. At this moment, a group of people appeared in the sky above the continent. There were more than a dozen of them, and they were actually from the Heavenly Human Tribe. The Heavenly Human Tribe members looked around as soon as they arrived in the sky above the continent. The plants produced by this continent are very likely to contain desolate crystals. One of the Heavenly Human Tribe elders said. He had a high nose bridge and a broad chin. When he opened and closed his eyes, there was a murderous glint in them. But this continent is so big, it will be very difficult to find it. Another middle-aged Heavenly Human Tribe man said, It doesn't matter if it's difficult or not. Once we find something, it will be a great harvest. Let's split up and search. Maybe we can even find precious metals. The Heavenly Human Tribe elder with the high nose bridge chuckled. Then he ordered the other Heavenly Human Tribe members to split up and search. Each of the Heavenly Human Tribe members had a disc array in their hands. It was refined by the master refiner of the Heavenly Palace and was specially used to search for metals. The Heavenly Human Tribe members spread out across the continent and began to search. In the blink of an eye, a few days had passed. The Heavenly Human Tribe members did not find anything. Could it be that this continent doesn't have any precious metals or desolate crystals? It can't be. Could it be hidden deep underground? But it's difficult to find it if it's deep underground. The Heavenly Human Tribe elder with the high nose bridge frowned as he flew while holding the disc array. Suddenly, he took out a jade talisman. It was a voice transmission jade talisman. He had just received a message. The illusory divine jade lost its effect after entering the universe ruins. The Heavenly Human Tribe members could only use voice transmission jade talismans to communicate over short distances. I found something. The Heavenly Human Tribe elder's eyes lit up. Then he flew toward the north. After some time, they arrived in the air above a dense forest. What did you find? The Heavenly Human Tribe elder with the high nose bridge asked impatiently as soon as he arrived. At this moment, the other Heavenly Human Tribe members had already gathered here. Sir, when I was searching, I found a cave below the forest. It seems to have been dug out by someone. One of the Heavenly Human Tribe members reported. Chapter 45-49. Could it be that someone else has already found the cave? Bring me there. The bridge of his nose was high, and his eyes were cold. Yes. The Heavenly Human from before nodded and led the group down into the forest. They arrived at a patch of grass. Sure enough, there was a cave in the bush. This cave was the mine that Cho had dug out. This cave seems to have been dug out not long ago. It's definitely not more than 10 years old. The middle-aged Heavenly Human said. Among the dozen or so Heavenly Humans, the middle-aged Heavenly Human and the old man with the high nose were obviously the leaders. I wonder who is one step ahead of us. Is it our own people, Heaven Destroyer's people, or someone from another race? The old man with the high nose said, If there really are metal ores down there, the other party wouldn't have left so quickly. Let's go down and take a look. The middle-aged Heavenly Human's eyes flashed coldly. That's right. Let's go down and take a look. The few of you stay outside. The rest of you, follow us in. The Heavenly Human Tribe elder with a tall nose instructed. Out of the 13 of them, 3 were left to stand guard outside while the remaining 10 flew into the mine. The mine was straight down. The 10 Heavenly Humans concealed their auras and carefully descended. At the same time, all kinds of weapons appeared in their hands, ready to attack at any time. Although the Heavenly Star District was a newly developed area of the Heavenly Human Tribe, there was no guarantee that no one else would come in. If it was the Heavenly Human Tribe or someone from another race in the mine, it would be fine. However, if it was the Heaven Destroyer's people, they would directly attack. In the mine, Lu Ming was still cultivating with his eyes closed. Suddenly, Lu Ming opened his eyes. Someone was coming down. Lu Ming's spirit sense, was extremely sharp. Although the heavenly human tribe's people had concealed their auras, he still sensed them. Qiu, come here. Someone's coming. Lu Ming transmitted his voice with his spirit sense. Whoosh! Qiu flew back to Lu Ming's side like a bolt of lightning. Then it quickly squirmed on Lu Ming's body, transforming into an armor that covered Lu Ming's entire body. Then Lu Ming's figure flashed, and he arrived at the ore wall. His body merged with the ore wall and became one with the surrounding Black Heaven Source Gold Oregon. This was, of course, Qiu's special ability. It could completely merge its body into metal or metal ores without any flaws. Qiu enveloping Lu Ming had a similar effect. At the same time, Lu Ming cast the great concealing art to restrain his aura. Lu Ming had just hidden himself when the 10 heavenly human tribe members arrived. As soon as the 10 heavenly human tribe cultivators arrived, they were already in a defensive position. No one, not a single person. Could it be that they have already left? What a big mine. They actually dug out such a big space. This is definitely not something that can be done in 10 years. Could it be that they have a lot of people? These look like teeth marks. That's strange. What did they use to dig them out? After the heavenly human tribe cultivators sized up the mine, they began to discuss among themselves. After more than 2 years, Qiu had already gnawed out half of the ore. A huge underground space had appeared. Don't let your guard down. The ore here is obviously not finished. How could the other party leave so easily? They might be hiding in the dark. Don't let your guard down. The old man with the tall nose said coldly. His eyes were like lightning as he looked around. The other heavenly human tribe cultivators also looked around carefully. They spread out their spiritual senses and searched carefully. However, they did not find anything. They did not find Lu Ming. Indeed, there is no one. Perhaps the other party really did have something urgent to attend to and left. The heavenly human tribe cultivators finally let down their guard. Even the heavenly human elder with the tall nose was the same. What kind of ore is this? At this moment, the heavenly human tribe cultivators finally focused their attention on the ore. When they took a closer look, their eyes widened and their hearts raced. They were extremely shocked. These seemed to be Black Heaven Source Gold ores. Yes, they are really Black Heaven Source Gold ores. That's right. I've seen them before. There's so many Black Heaven Source Gold ores. We're rich. The heavenly human tribe cultivators were ecstatic. Even the 2 leaders of the heavenly human tribe cultivators, the old man with the tall nose and the burly man, were ecstatic. Their breathing became heavy. Those were Black Heaven Source Gold ores. Even if they were not purified, they would be invaluable. What a pity. So much of the Black Heaven Source Gold ores have been dug out. Then the heavenly human tribe cultivators were heartbroken. Clang! An old man took out a shovel and started to dig. However, when the shovel landed on the ore, it made clanging sounds and sparks. However, it only left a shallow mark on the ore. The old man's cultivation was only at the 9th level of the divine God realm. He could not dig it out at all. The Black Heaven Source Gold ores are extremely hard. Only divine masters with special tools can dig it out. Don't think about it. Stay here obediently. We'll give you some later. The burly man in the lead grinned. Those God Emperor realm existences looked dejected. Lu Ming had been secretly observing the 10 heavenly human tribe cultivators. 2 4th-layer divine masters, 1 3rd-layer divine master, 1 2nd-layer divine master, and 6 9th-layer divine masters, Lu Ming thought to himself. His expression was grave. The heavenly human tribe cultivators were extremely powerful. The 6 9th-layer divine masters of the heavenly human tribe were negligible. However, the 4 divine masters were not to be underestimated. They were from the heavenly human tribe. Their combat power was stronger than ordinary tribes. In particular, The two fourth-tier Divine Master experts gave Lu Ming a lot of pressure. I can't give up on the Black Heaven Source Gold. I have to get rid of these heavenly human tribe cultivators. Lu Ming thought to himself. The Black Heaven Source Gold was a special material for crafting soul-grade divine weapons. It was too rare and precious. Lu Ming did not want to give it up. The remaining Black Heaven Source Gold ores would be enough to craft 2 soul-grade divine weapons. Moreover, the Black Heaven Source Gold ores contain desolate crystals. However, the 2 fourth-layer Divine Masters were not easy to deal with. My advantage is that they haven't discovered me yet. If I launch a sudden attack and kill or severely injure one of the fourth-layer Divine Masters, I might have a chance of winning. Lu Ming analyzed the combat power of the 2 sides. If the 2 fourth-layer Divine Masters of the Heavenly Human Tribe teamed up, Lu Ming might not be their match. However, if he could get rid of one of them right from the start, Lu Ming still had some confidence in dealing with one of them. As long as his opponent was not a freak or a monster. His trump card was the origin energy. If he used it together with the War God Spear, he was confident that he could deal with one of them. After making up his mind, Lu Ming started to prepare. The forbidden energy in his body started to circulate. He was ready to take out the War God Spear at any time. However, at this moment, the heavenly human elder with the tall nose suddenly turned around and scanned the surroundings. Chapter 4550. The heavenly human elder with the tall nose seemed to have discovered something. His eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. Lu Ming was shocked. He quickly stopped circulating the forbidden energy and restrained his aura. As expected of a fourth-layer Divine Master expert, his spiritual perception was extremely sharp. He seemed to have discovered something when Lu Ming had just circulated the forbidden energy. Yi Chu Gong Sang, what did you discover? The leader of the group asked. I suddenly felt that something was wrong. I sensed danger, the heavenly human elder with the tall nose said. The tall-nosed celestial race elder said. His name was Yi Chu Gong Sang. You sense danger? But there aren't any other living beings here? The leader asked. His spiritual perception was obviously not as good as Yi Chu Gong Sang's. It's better to be careful. After all, the other party only dug out a portion of the ore here before leaving. You should know that this is Black Heaven Source Gold, or Yi Chu Gong Sang said. No one would complain about having too much of such precious ore. However, only a portion of the ore had been dug out. Clearly, something was wrong. You're right. This matter is indeed strange. However, we can't rule out the possibility that the other party left because of an emergency. Still, it's better to be safe than sorry. The 6 of you, search the surroundings carefully. Check inch by inch. See if there are any abnormalities or hidden formations, the leading burly man ordered the 6 celestial emperors. Yes. The 6 divine emperors of the heavenly human tribe obeyed the order. Then they came to the underground space and started to search inch by inch. They were afraid that someone had set up a hidden formation in a corner. Someone was hiding in the dark. One of the heavenly human elders quickly approached Lu Ming. He kept patting the wall with his hand and injected heavenly power. Once there was a formation, it would definitely react. Qiu, let's hide behind. Lu Ming secretly communicated with Qiu. Qiu took Lu Ming and moved silently through the ore until they were a few hundred meters deep. The 9th layer divine emperor, heavenly human, didn't find anything when he checked where Lu Ming had been. After that person left, Qiu brought Lu Ming outside and floated on the surface of the ore. This way, Lu Ming could better observe the other party. Not long after, the 6 heavenly humans thoroughly searched the place, inch by inch, but they still failed to find anything. Yi Chu Gong Sang, it seems like you're overthinking things. With such a meticulous search, if there was someone hiding in the dark, we would have found them long ago. The leader of the group laughed. Yechu Gong Sang also nodded and didn't say much. Let's start mining. Such a hard, or will take a long time. The leader said. A shovel appeared in his hand. Clang, clang, clang. He began to dig. The other two divine master, heavenly humans, also began to dig. Yechu Gongsang's eyes flickered a few times. He shook his head and smiled. It seems that I was overthinking. After saying that, a shovel appeared in his hand and he was ready to start digging. However, at this moment, Yechu Gongsang suddenly took a step forward. His body was like a flash of lightning as he dashed toward the wall on the side. He was rushing toward the place where Lu Ming was hiding. As he was rushing out, the shovel in his hand disappeared. It was replaced by a long spear. The sharp spear was covered in heavenly energy as it pierced toward Lu Ming. This scene greatly exceeded Lu Ming's expectations. Lu Ming really thought that the other party hadn't discovered him, so he relaxed a little. He didn't expect the other party to suddenly attack. At this moment, it was too late for Qiu to take him deeper into the ore. He could only take the attack head-on. Qiu, don't attack! Lu Ming shouted. He shook his arms and shook off Qiu's attack. Then he threw a punch. Qiu was only a divine emperor. He didn't need Qiu to help him block the other party's attack. The difference between them was too great. Although Qiu had strong vitality, it was still very likely that it would be killed by the other party in one move. Boom! Lu Ming's fist landed on the other party's long spear. There was a loud bang and the entire mine cave shook violently. This move also sent Lu Ming flying out. He slid along the stone wall of the mine cave. There was a bloody hole on his fist. Even his bones were pierced and blood was gushing out of it. Just now, the other party had been accumulating energy for this attack while he had only taken it head-on. He was naturally no match for the other party. What? There really is someone. The other celestial race experts also reacted. The three God Lord experts stopped digging, and powerful energies enveloped Lu Ming. A first-level God Lord was actually able to block one of my attacks. Kid, your strength isn't bad. No, you're Lu Ming. Yechu Gongsang coldly said at first, but he immediately recognized Lu Ming and raised his voice. Lu Ming had been alone in this mine, so he naturally wouldn't use the great imitation art to hide his identity. Thus, the other party had recognized him at a glance. It really is Lu Ming. Ha ha ha! I didn't expect to run into him here. As long as we can take him down, Lord Empyrean will definitely reward us handsomely. The other divine Lord experts were overjoyed. The fourth-level God Lord expert, in particular, was all smiles, his eyes blazing. Lu Ming was now a hot steamed bun in the eyes of the celestial race. Anyone who could take down Lu Ming would be able to ascend to the heavens in a single step. But Lu Ming had been hiding in the Heaven Destroyer base this entire time. Even though the countless experts of the Heavenly Palace wanted to take down Lu Ming, they couldn't do anything about it. But they hadn't expected to run into Lu Ming here. How did you discover me? Lu Ming stared at Yechu Gongsang and asked, I didn't discover you. I just sensed a wisp of killing intent leaking out from this place. I'm a paranoid person, so I decided to test it out. I didn't expect someone to really be hiding here. And it's you, Lu Ming. As Yechu Gongsang spoke, he moved closer to the entrance of the mine to prevent Lu Ming from escaping. This guy is really meticulous, Lu Ming frowned. He had indeed planned to retreat if he couldn't win. But since the other party had already blocked his path of retreat, he could only fight. Let's test the strength of these people first. If they aren't too monstrous and abnormal, I might be able to put up a fight. Lu Ming thought as the forbidden energy in his body circulated wildly. The war god's spear also appeared in his hand. Moreover, the battle character art had already activated 7 times the fighting strength and was trying to activate 8 times the fighting strength. Why waste words with him? Kill! The leader shouted. His burly body pressed toward Lu Ming like a mountain. A golden giant hammer appeared in his hand. and he smashed it toward Lu Ming's head. The giant hammer was covered in a layer of gray energy. It was the heavenly extermination energy, one of the most powerful heavenly powers. Heaven Breaker! Lu Ming shouted softly. The war god's spear pierced out and pierced the golden hammer. Chapter 45-51. The war god's spear collided with the golden warhammer, causing an earth-shattering explosion. Violent energy, waves swept out in all directions. Not good. There were 6 other cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer in that area. Their facial expressions changed drastically. 4 of them frantically retreated, trying to avoid the sweeping force. 2 of them were smarter and didn't retreat. Instead, they rushed toward Yechu Gongsong. "Come to me," shouted Yi Chu Gongsong furiously. He released his strength and surrounded the 2 cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer. But the other 4 cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer were too late. The 4 cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer were surrounded by the Qi. They tried their best to resist, but it was useless. The Qi released by the collision between Lu Ming and the celestial human cultivator was too strong. 4 horrible shrieks were heard. The 4 cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer had turned into ashes. As for the 2 experts who were protected by Yechu Gongzong, their faces were pale and their bodies were drenched in cold sweat. If they hadn't reacted in time, they would have ended up the same way. When immortals fight, mortals suffer. This was the truth. "All of you, go out and guard the entrance." Yi Chu Gongsong ordered the 2 9th layer god emperors. In any case, celestial emperors wouldn't be of much help in a battle between existences of their level. If they stayed here, they would only be a hindrance. Yes. The 2 cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer hurriedly flew up to the hole and left. Bang! 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 The collision between Lu Ming and the burly man from the heavenly human tribe ended with Lu Ming at a disadvantage. Lu Ming's body shook violently as he retreated continuously. He retreated more than 10 steps before he could stabilize himself. "Die, brat!" Seeing that Lu Ming was knocked back with a single blow, the heavenly human tribe man became even more confident. With a roar, he brandished his warhammer and continued to attack Lu Ming. The war hammer was like a small mountain, pressing down on Lu Ming. Clang! Lu Ming blocked the attack and continued to retreat. Meanwhile, the burly man from the heavenly human tribe rained down attacks on Lu Ming like a torrential storm. In the blink of an eye, both sides had exchanged more than a dozen moves. With every move, Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. After a dozen moves, Lu Ming had already retreated to the bottom of the wall. "Ha ha ha, Lu Ming die." The middle-aged man from the heavenly human tribe laughed loudly. He raised his strength to the extreme and smashed his hammer toward Lu Ming. He wanted to kill Lu Ming completely. "Humph, you're not qualified to kill me." Lu Ming coldly snorted. The war god's spear buzzed, and a dazzling spear burst forth, piercing towards the celestial race's muscular man. Clang! The 2 of them exchanged another blow. However, this time, Lu Ming's body only retreated 2 steps, while the burly man from the heavenly human tribe also took a step back. Although Lu Ming was still at a disadvantage, he was only at a slight disadvantage. The gap between them was not that big anymore. This was because the battle incantation had successfully increased his combat strength by 8 times. It had to be said that the burly man from the heavenly human tribe was really amazing. He was even stronger than Yi Wu. Of course, Yi Wu was naturally stronger in a battle of the same level. However, Yi Wu's cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the Divine Master Realm, and half of his forbidden power had been stripped away. In that state, Yi Wu's combat strength was not as strong as the burly man from the heavenly human tribe. Therefore, he was able to gain the upper hand in the battle with Lu Ming. "Boy, you're still hiding your strength?" "It's useless, even if you're hiding your strength. You'll still die. Kill. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe roared and charged toward Lu Ming crazily. Yi, Chu, Gongsan, and the other two divine masters did not move. They blocked the exit, afraid that Lu Ming would take the opportunity to escape. The main reason was that they felt that the burly man from the heavenly human tribe alone was enough to deal with Lu Ming. Primitive style! This time, Lu Ming let the war god's spear float in the air. He quickly formed a seal with his hands, and a continent appeared. It was the primitive continent formed by the primitive style. In the past decade, Lu Ming would use the primitive ring as a reference to comprehend the primitive style whenever he was free. The results were very good. Now that he had used the primitive style, the mountains and rivers on it were much clearer than before. Its power was also much stronger. Lu Ming condensed the primitive continent to about 100 meters. This way, its power was the most concentrated. The primitive continent pressed down on the burly man from the heavenly human tribe with a violent force. Its power was shocking. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe waved his golden war hammer and smashed it on the primitive continent. The violent force even made it difficult for the other heavenly human tribe expert, who was at the second level of the divine master realm, to stabilize himself. He kept retreating as he resisted with all his might. In the end, a crack appeared on the primitive continent. The crack kept expanding until it finally exploded. However, the middle-aged man from the heavenly human tribe was also blocked. The golden warhammer was bounced back for the first time. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe turned pale and looked shocked. This time, Lu Ming actually blocked his attack completely. This was unbelievable. Lu Ming was only at the first level of the divine master realm. This Lu Ming, Yi Chu Gongsan, and the others were also shocked. Then they were filled with intense killing intent. They finally understood why Lu Ming was listed as a must-kill target by the upper echelons of the heavenly palace. This boy was too terrifying. The two of you attack together. I'll support you from afar. Yi Chu Gongsan transmitted his voice to the other two divine masters. He also wanted to attack, but he had to block the entrance in case Lu Ming escaped. However, before Yi Chu Gongsan and the others could attack, Lu Ming had already attacked. Lu Ming continued to use the primitive style. A continent pressed down on the burly man from the heavenly human tribe. He held the war god's spear in his hand and became one with the spear. He stabbed at the burly man from the heavenly human tribe. Heavenly power condense, heavenly weapon. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe roared. His body was covered by the heavenly power. 9 golden war hammers were formed around him. Together with the one he had before, there were a total of 10 golden war hammers. One of them was a main divine weapon. The others were all heavenly power attack techniques. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 5 golden war hammers flew into the sky and blasted toward the primitive continent. In the end, the 5 war hammers and the primitive continent exploded and disappeared into energy. The other 5 war hammers flew toward the spear light that was stabbing toward them. Boom! The first war hammer collided with the spear light. However, the moment they collided, the war hammer was pierced through. Then, the spear light pierced through the second war hammer. The same thing happened to the second war hammer. It did not resist for even a moment and was also pierced through. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe was shocked. His eyes were filled with disbelief. This was because he discovered that the attacking power of Lu Ming's move was much, much stronger than before. No, this is the power of the origin. In the next moment, the burly man from the heavenly human tribe roared in his heart. Chapter 4552. That's right. Lu Ming had already used the power of the origin source in this move. The power of the origin source surged into the god of war spear, allowing the spear to recover some of its power. Together with Lu Ming's own power, the power of the attack was shocking. The war hammers formed by the heavenly human race man were completely useless against Lu Ming's attack. In the blink of an eye, all 4 war hammers were destroyed by the spear light. The heavenly human race man roared and swung the last war hammer, which was the main weapon, in an attempt to block Lu Ming's attack. Clang! The god of war spear pierced the war hammer, causing a loud explosion. The terrifying force was like waves that swept out in all directions, causing the entire underground space to shake violently. Luckily, the surroundings were filled with black heavenly origin gold ores that were extremely tough. The shock waves from their battle only left scratches on the black heavenly origin gold ores, but did not destroy the place. If it were ordinary stones or ores, this place would have been turned into ashes by the shock waves. Crack! After a loud explosion, the sound of porcelain shattering could be heard. It was none other than the golden war hammer in the heavenly human race man's hand. At this moment, cracks appeared on the war hammer of the heavenly human race man, and the number of cracks increased rapidly. Finally, with a loud bang, the entire golden war hammer exploded. A top-notch master-grade divine weapon was shattered just like that. The heavenly human race man was almost scared to death. His eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. The god of war spear did not stop there. It continued to pierce towards the heavenly human race man's forehead. Just as the god of war spear was about to pierce the heavenly human race man's forehead, his forehead suddenly shone brightly. A jade talisman appeared, emitting endless runes. The god of war spear was blocked by the runes. The attack of the god of war spear was stopped. The heavenly human race man took the opportunity to retreat, frantically wanting to escape. However, the jade talisman was only able to block the god of war spear for a few seconds before it was pierced through. A terrifying spear light continued to pierce towards the heavenly human race man. But with this delay, the heavenly human race man moved his body and avoided his vitals. Pucci! Although the spear ray had pierced through the large heavenly human clan's large man, it did not pierce through his forehead. Instead, it pierced through his chest. The heavenly human tribe man's chest instantly exploded. His flesh and blood splattered everywhere, and his bones were reduced to dust. His body flew out and crashed into the wall of black heaven source gold. He coughed up mouthfuls of blood. However, the large man from the heavenly human clan did not die. He was only seriously injured. These divine masters from the celestial race are really not easy to kill. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. Just now he had suddenly used his source energy and unleashed his strongest move. If his opponent was caught off guard, it would be very easy for him to kill him. However, in the end, he was still alive. The main reason for that was because he possessed too many life-saving methods. The jade talisman that appeared between his eyebrows was a treasure with extremely strong defensive power. If it wasn't for the fact that the war god spear's grade was extremely high, and that a trace of the war god spear's power had been stimulated by the origin energy, he wouldn't have been able to break through the other party's defense. However, even though the burly man from the heavenly human tribe didn't die, he was severely injured. It was difficult for him to continue fighting. This, Yechu Gongsang and the other two were extremely shocked. They never thought that Lu Ming would suddenly unleash his full strength and severely injure the burly man from the heavenly human tribe with a single move. Weren't they evenly matched just a moment ago? Why did he suddenly become so strong? Had he been hiding his strength all this time and suddenly unleashed his full strength to kill them all? At the thought of this, their bodies turned cold and they broke out in cold sweat. Besides, Lu Ming had suddenly unleashed his full strength and used his strongest move to break through the multiple defenses of the heavenly human tribe. Everything had happened in an instant. They couldn't even save him in time. Now, they instinctively wanted to run away. Don't be afraid. He used his source energy just now. He has the origin seed. I think his source energy can only be used once. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe yelled. He was almost scared to death. If Yechu Gongtsang and the others retreated, he would really die. Yechu Gongtsang and the others came to a realization. They knew that Lu Ming had condensed an origin seed when he was in the Taishang Immortal City. However, that was only an origin seed. It was impossible for him to have an endless supply of source energy. Even an origin realm expert couldn't have an endless supply of source energy. According to their experience, Lu Ming should only be able to use his source energy to unleash a single attack. He has already used up his source energy. Attack and kill him. Yechu Gongtsang roared furiously. The power of heavenly punishment erupted and turned into a battle sword that slashed at Lu Ming. The other two Divine Lord Realm experts also attacked. A third-layer Divine Lord and a second-layer Divine Lord launched their strongest attacks at Lu Ming. The three attacks attacked Lu Ming's 3 vital points at an astonishing speed. These guys have really fast reactions. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. Originally, he could have taken the opportunity to attack and kill the burly man from the heavenly human tribe if they had hesitated. But now he had lost the opportunity to attack. After all, Yechu Gongtsang's strength was extremely terrifying. He was even slightly stronger than the burly man from the heavenly human tribe. In addition, there were 2 other Divine Lord Realm experts attacking together. Lu Ming didn't dare to be careless. He had to focus on dealing with them. The slightest carelessness would cause him to be severely injured. After all, he couldn't use his source energy anymore. Whoosh! The war god's spear vibrated and stabbed out several times in an instant. Several rays of spear light shot out. Yechu Gongtsang blocked them, but he also took several steps back. Kill. Heavenly punishment descend. Kill. Buddha's heavenly slaughter. Kill. Heavenly tiger's roar. Yechu Gongtsang and the other 2 used their killing moves and attacked Lu Ming together. Their attacking speed was too fast and their coordination was flawless. Lu Ming did not have the time to perform the prehistoric style at such a fast speed. After all, the primitive style required hand seals. Although it was extremely fast, it still required some time. Of course, this was because Lu Ming had just comprehended it not long ago and wasn't familiar with it yet. In the future, when Lu Ming cultivated it to the point where he didn't need to form hand seals and could use it with a thought, its power would be truly shocking. Now he could only wield the war god's spear to block the attacks. Lu Ming used the heaven-breaking style. His entire body seemed to have turned into a ray of spear light. Together with the war god's spear, its power was extremely shocking. The long spear vibrated and several rays of spear light shot out, blocking the attacks of Yechu Gongtsang and the others. Among the 3, Yechu Gongtsang's attacks gave Lu Ming a lot of pressure. As for the other 2, Lu Ming could easily block them. However, although Lu Ming could block them easily, he didn't dare to be careless. Lu Ming's attack power was extremely strong, not much weaker than Yechu Gongtsang's. However, his defense power was not as strong as his attack power. Chapter 45-53. When Lu Ming unleashed his full power, his offensive power was astonishing. He could even defeat or kill an ordinary 4th-layer Divine Lord, but his defensive power was far from such a level. Lu Ming controlled forbidden power and many ancient secret techniques. His defensive power was naturally much stronger than other cultivators of the same level. Very few people of the same level could break through his defenses. Even if it was a 2nd-level Divine Master, Lu Ming would not take it to heart. However, it was different for a 3rd-level Divine Master. A 3rd-level Divine Master would definitely be able to break through Lu Ming's defense and cause him serious injuries. That 3rd-layer Divine Lord from the Celestial race was stronger than an ordinary 3rd-layer Divine Lord. He was a great threat to Lu Ming. In a one-on-one fight, he would have defeated his opponent before he could even attack him. However, it was different now. The opponent had Yechu Gongtsang as the main attacker. Just Yechu Gongtsang alone was enough to put Lu Ming at a disadvantage. That third-layer divine lord from the celestial race was a great threat. Lu Ming had to be on guard at all times. As a result, Lu Ming's situation became even more passive. Yechu Gongpsang and the others naturally saw this, so Yechu Gongpsang's attacks became even more violent. Dazzling sword light poured down on Lu Ming like a storm, enveloping Lu Ming. Lu Ming could only defend with all his strength. The void was covered by countless spear lights and sword lights. The two constantly clashed, and in an instant they had exchanged dozens of blows. Now's the time! Suddenly the other two celestial race experts attacked fiercely. Their timing was too accurate. It was when Lu Ming was fighting Yechu Gongpsang with all his strength and couldn't afford to be distracted. Although Lu Ming tried his best to dodge, he was still hit by the third-layer Divine Lord. The attack broke through his multiple defenses and bombarded Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body trembled as he was sent flying to the side. He smashed into the stone wall of the black heavenly source gold mine, causing the ground to shake. A deep wound appeared on his body, and he spat out several mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale. Even with Lu Ming's constitution, he had still been injured by a powerful third-layer Divine Lord, and his injuries were not light. That's it. Keep attacking like this. Kill! Yechu Gongpsang roared and continued to attack Lu Ming with the other two. Desolate style! Lu Ming roared, finally finding an opportunity. He used the great desolate style, and a continent formed, suppressing Yi Chu and the others. Petty tricks! Break for me! Yechu Gongpsang shouted coldly. His sword light burst out and soared into the sky, slashing at the Your Desolation continent. Boom! Yechu Gongpsang's battle prowess was extremely powerful. When the sword light containing divine retribution power slashed onto the continent, it tore open a massive hole, causing the continent to continuously explode and be on the verge of collapse. But this was enough for Lu Ming. Heaven Breaker! Lu Ming's eyes exuded cold killing intent as he became one with his spear. It was as if he had become one with the war god's spear. Finally, he transformed into a spear light that stabbed at the third-layer divine, lord of the celestial race. Yes, Lu Ming had used the desolate style to pin down Yechu Gongpsang. His goal was to kill that third-layer divine lord of the celestial race. As long as he could get rid of this person, the situation would be in Lu Ming's favor. This second-layer divine lord of the celestial race was not much of a threat to Lu Ming. Yechu Gongpsang alone was easy to deal with. Even if he couldn't defeat him, Lu Ming could still easily retreat. As long as the origin energy of the origin seed recovered, he would be able to come back. You dare! Yechu Gongpsang roared as he thrust out a palm with his left hand. Several dozen bolts of lightning hurtled toward Lu Ming. However, it was too late. Moreover, the attack was done hastily and the attack was not powerful. 2 bolts of lightning struck the spear gleam that Lu Ming had transformed into. It only caused the spear gleam to tremble a little and did not stop Lu Ming. Lu Ming's attacks did not stop. In the blink of an eye, he had closed in on the third-layer divine, lord of the celestial race. This person roared as he circulated supreme heavenly energy and slashed out with a saber at the spear light. But in a head-on clash, he was no match for Lu Ming. He was far from being a match. With a bang, this person's saber light and the main divine weapon saber in his hand exploded. Lu Ming's spear light pierced through this person's body like a hot knife through butter. Ah! This third-layer divine lord of the celestial race screamed, his voice filled with unwillingness and fear. Then his body exploded, his soul extinguished. Just now, his body and soul had been completely destroyed by Lu Ming. You're courting death! Yechu Gongpsang roared. His entire body was covered in lightning as he prepared to launch a thunderous attack. However, he immediately stopped, because the ground had suddenly begun to shake. Rumble. Intense explosions could be heard continuously. Lu Ming, Yechu Gongpsang, and the others paled. This was because the explosions were coming from one direction. It was as if some massive object had broken through the black heaven's source gold and was charging toward them. Judging from the sound, it was moving at an astonishing speed. Over there! Lu Ming's wooden pipe swept toward a wall. The tremors were coming from there. The next moment, bang! The wall formed by the black heaven's source gold exploded. Then, a scarlet strip of flesh swept toward Lu Ming. Barbs grew from the scarlet strip of flesh, and a nauseating stench instantly filled the room. Fast, too fast. It instantly closed in on Lu Ming with frightening power. Lu Ming had a feeling that if this strip of flesh swept him up, he would not be able to escape death. If it were anyone else, they would not be able to escape. But Lu Ming reacted quickly. As soon as the strip of flesh flew out, he activated the greater teleportation art. The greater teleportation art had a fatal flaw. When there were obstacles in the way, it could not directly pass through them. Therefore, it was impossible for Lu Ming to teleport out of the mine. However, it was possible to teleport within the mine. When the strip of flesh passed through Lu Ming's body, it only passed through Lu Ming's afterimage. Lu Ming's body had already appeared on another wall 1,000 meters away, but the scarlet strip of flesh did not stop there. It continued to wrap around him. In front of him was the burly man from the heavenly human tribe who had been injured by Lu Ming. Although he had tried his best to heal himself, he did not have much time to recover from his injuries. He could not dodge the attack of the scarlet strip of flesh at all. In an instant, the burly man from the heavenly human tribe was wrapped up by the strip of flesh. The barbs on the strip of flesh pierced deeply into his body. "Ah, save me!" The burly man from the heavenly human tribe struggled frantically, but it was useless. The strip of flesh did not move at all. Chapter 45-54. Break it! Yechu Gongpsang charged over. His sharp sword, accompanied by rolling heavenly lightning, slashed at the crimson flesh. However, something shocking happened. The sharp sword hit the strip of flesh like a hammer hitting a war drum. There was a loud thud. The red strip of flesh was unscathed. There was only a shallow mark on it. Then, the red strip of flesh shook and a strong, rebounding force sent Yechu Gongpsang flying. "It's so tough!" Lu Ming, Yechu Gongpsang, and the others were shocked. The defense of the red strip of flesh was too shocking. Even with Yechu Gongpsang's strength, he could only leave a shallow mark on it. Its defense was even tougher than the Black Heaven Source Gold Oregon. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe screamed in despair when he saw this. Swoosh! The crimson strip of flesh pulled the heavenly human tribe cultivator back into the cave. Meanwhile, the black heavenly source gold wall began to rumble even more violently as the ores continued to explode. Then, a colossal creature appeared before everyone's eyes. This is Lu Ming, and the others were shocked. Their pupils constricted. They saw a worm. It was a pitch-black worm that looked like a caterpillar. Its entire body seemed to be cast from the dark sky. The scarlet strip of meat just now was spat out by this worm. The worm was at least 12 meters in diameter. Its 2 red and greedy eyes were looking at Lu Ming and the others. "Ah!" The burly man from the heavenly human tribe screamed in fear. He struggled madly. He burned all the power of heaven in his body. However, he still could not do anything to the black worm. The strip of flesh pulled the burly man from the heavenly human tribe into the black worm's mouth. The black worm started chewing. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe screamed a few times and stopped breathing. The others felt a chill down their spines. They knew that the burly man from the heavenly human tribe had been eaten by the black worm. Squeak! Squeak! After the black worm ate the burly man from the heavenly human tribe, it screamed continuously. The red strip of flesh flew out of its mouth and wrapped around Lu Ming. Lu Ming was highly focused. He was ready to dodge at any time. As soon as the black worm attacked, Lu Ming used the greater teleportation technique to move to the other side of the wall. The red strip of flesh missed. However, the red strip of flesh did not stop. It turned toward Yechu Gongsang as fast as lightning. Yechu Gongsang's hair stood on end. He did not dare to take the attack. He turned into a bolt of lightning and flashed rapidly to dodge the red strip of flesh. He was very fast. After a few flashes, he was actually able to dodge the attack. However, the red strip of flesh changed direction and charged toward the Heavenly Human Tribe expert. Second Heavenly Human Tribe expert was not fast enough. The speed of a second-level Divine Master was not as fast as Yechu Gongsang. Although he tried his best to dodge, he was still one step too slow and was caught by the scarlet flesh. Gongsang, save me. Save me. The second Heavenly Human Tribe expert screamed in fear. However, there was no way Yechu Gongsang would save him. He could not even care about Lu Ming now. He dashed directly to the hole above, rushed into the hole and disappeared. The second Heavenly Human Tribe expert looked desperate as he was pulled into the black worm's mouth. After Yechu Gongsang rushed into the hole, Lu Ming also used the greater teleportation technique to move to the hole. Then he rushed in and rushed upward. Squeak, squeak, squeak. After eating the second Heavenly Human Tribe expert, the black worm screamed and chased after Lu Ming. Its fat body had completely drilled out of the Black Heaven Source gold mine. It was more than 100 meters long. However, the black worm's body was too big, and the hole was made by Chocho. It was relatively small and could only allow a few people to pass through at the same time. The black worm's body was more than 10 meters long, so it could not get out. It was blocked. However, the black worm opened its mouth and revealed rows of sharp teeth. It bit down on the Black Heaven Source gold mine. The Black Heaven Source gold mine exploded, and the black worm created a huge hole in the ground. So fast! Lu Ming was shocked. Fei Huang was right. Worms born from the ruins of the universe were indeed very dangerous. He had not encountered any worms before. Now that he had encountered the first one, it gave him a sense of terror. Lu Ming increased his speed and rushed upward. Below, the black worm was crazily digging out the Black Heaven Source gold mine and chasing after Lu Ming. However, its speed was still slower than Lu Ming's. Not long after, light came from above. Lu Ming knew that he was about to reach the hole. However, at this moment, a few bolts of lightning struck at Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. Yechu Gongsang. Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly. It was obvious that Yechu Gongsang had attacked him. Yechu Gongsang wanted to block Lu Ming and use the black worm to kill Lu Ming. Swoosh! Swoosh! The war god's spear shook and shot out rays of light, piercing towards the bolts of lightning. After a series of explosions, the bolts of lightning were destroyed. However, Lu Ming was also blocked. These bolts of lightning were not ordinary. They were formed by the power of the heavenly punishment and were very powerful. When Lu Ming adjusted his body and dashed up again, a few bolts of lightning flew from above. There were also a few sword gleams that blocked the entire entrance of the cave and shrouded Lu Ming. Heaven breaking! Lu Ming shouted. His body turned into a spear light, and he merged with the war god's spear and rushed up. Boom! 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 The war god's spear continued to rush up, destroying the bolts of lightning and sword light. Its body slowly approached the hole. Lu Ming, you can't come up. You'd better be obedient and feed the worm. Yechu Gongsang's cold voice came from the hole. He controlled a main grade divine weapon and slashed at Lu Ming with all his strength. He didn't want to kill Lu Ming. He only wanted to block Lu Ming. Boom! The sword light and the spear light collided, and an earth-shattering explosion erupted. A terrifying light beam of chi shot straight into the sky from the cave entrance. The spear gleam that Lu Ming had transformed into vibrated continuously. In the end, it stopped. Yechu Gongtsang's combat strength was already slightly stronger than Lu Ming's. Now that he had the advantage, he only wanted to block Lu Ming. Lu Ming couldn't rush up for a while. Below, the black worm was rushing up at an astonishing speed. After the black worm passed through the layer of Black Heaven source gold ore and rushed into the ordinary rock layer, its speed became even faster. The ordinary rock layer was like tofu in front of the black worm. Although the ordinary rock layer contained some metal ores, they were only ordinary metal ores. They were not as hard as the Black Heaven source gold Oregon. Haha, Lu Ming, go to hell! Yechu Gongtsang laughed crazily. I'll have to disappoint you. Lu Ming spoke coldly. At the same time, Qiu transformed into an armor and put it on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming dashed toward the ordinary metal ores by the side. His entire body sank into the metal ores and disappeared. End of chapter. Chapter 45-55. Lu Ming used Qiu's ability to merge with the ordinary metal ores and disappear. Yechu Gongtsang's eyes popped out. Damn you! You bastard! Yechu Gongtsang roared, but the black worm kept coming up. Yechu Gongtsang didn't dare to stay any longer. He turned around and left the cave. As soon as Yechu Gongtsang left, Lu Ming appeared. In fact, Lu Ming didn't go far. He just hid on the surface of the ordinary metal ores. He knew very well that the black worm lived here, and it was extremely special. It shuttled through the ores like a fish in water, and its speed was astonishing. Even if he used Qiu's ability, he wouldn't be able to catch up with the black worm. Lu Ming used Qiu's ability to hide in the ores to blackmail Yechu Gongtsang. As expected, Yechu Gongtsang thought that Lu Ming had escaped and the black worm was about to come out. He was scared to death. He didn't dare to stay any longer. As soon as Yechu Gongtsang left, Lu Ming came out of the ores and rushed out of the cave. Yechu Gongtsang sensed Lu Ming as soon as he came out of the cave. He immediately realized that Lu Ming was blackmailing him. He shouted, "Lu Ming, you bastard! How dare you trick me?" "So what? Bite me?" Lu Ming sneered. Yechu Gongtsang was so angry that he almost vomited blood. "Bastard, don't let me catch you. I'll make you suffer," Yechu Gongtsang shouted, but he didn't dare to stay any longer. He ran in a direction. Behind him, there were 5 heavenly human elders of the 9th layer of the divine god realm. They were also running for their lives. Lu Ming's eyes twinkled. He then flew in another direction. Rumble. Not long after Lu Ming flew out, the black worm rushed out from the ground. As soon as it rushed out, its scarlet eyes scanned the surroundings. "Don't chase me. Go after the heavenly human tribe," Lu Ming murmured. But the next moment, Lu Ming's face darkened, because the black worm was rushing towards Lu Ming. Its body was 100 meters long. It looked fat, but its speed was astonishing. Its fat body wriggled a few times, then it shot forward like a bolt of lightning, chasing Lu Ming. In terms of speed, it was actually faster than Lu Ming. Qiu! Lu Ming really wanted to scold him. Was he that good? Was he that good? Why didn't the heavenly human tribe, the heavenly human race, clearly had more people? Was it because he had a taboo body, or because he was carrying Qiu? Or was it because he had brought a lot of the heavenly human tribe? Greater teleportation technique. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He cast the transference skill and changed his direction, flying in the direction where the heavenly human tribe had fled. The black worm immediately chased after Lu Ming. The heavenly human tribe's expression changed. "Lu Ming, what are you doing? Get lost." Yechu Gongtsang roared. "We should share blessings and misfortunes together. Why are you running so fast? Let's deal with this black worm together." Lu Ming sneered. "Bullshit." Yechu Gongtsang roared. As for the 5 heavenly human tribe elders of the 9th great supreme god layer, they were about to cry. Yechu Gongtsang was still in the lead. He was already far away. But the 5 ninth Great Supreme God Layer experts were much slower than Yechu Gongtsang. They were also much slower than Lu Ming. In just a short while, Lu Ming caught up with the 5 ninth Great Supreme God Layer experts. Shua! Lu Ming flew over the heads of the 5 heavenly human tribe elders of the 9th Great Supreme God Layer and continued chasing after Yechu Gongtsang. Not long after Lu Ming flew past them, the black worm also approached. Shua! A red lightning bolt shot out of the black worm's mouth. It was the piece of meat. It flew towards the 5 ninth Great Supreme God Layer experts. Cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God Layer couldn't dodge the black worm's attacks. 2 of them were sucked into the worm's mouths while screaming in agony. The remaining 3 were almost scared to death. "Let's split up," shouted one of the elders of the 9th Great Supreme God Layer. The 3 of them split up in 3 different directions. That way, they would at least have a chance to survive. As for who would survive, it would depend on luck. But they were too naive. The red tongue kept moving. It was shockingly long. The 3 elders of the 9th Great Supreme God Layer were sucked into the black worm's mouth as soon as they split up. After killing the 5 elders of the 9th Great Supreme God Layer, the black worm continued chasing after Lu Ming. Just like that, Yechu Gongtsang was running at the front. Lu Ming was chasing after him. Behind him was the black worm. The black worm was extremely fast. It was faster than Lu Ming. It kept getting closer to Lu Ming. However, every time the distance between the 2 parties was shortened, Lu Ming would cast the transference skill and dash forward. The distance between him and the black worm would increase a little. Instead, he was closer to Yechu Gongtsang. "Damn it!" shouted Yechu Gongtsang furiously. His face was distorted. He looked extremely ferocious. Lu Ming didn't want to let him go. He had led the black worm to him. He deserved to die 1,000 times. He wanted to stop and chop Lu Ming into pieces. Of course, that was just his imagination. If he really stopped, he would never dare to do so. That black worm was too strong for him to deal with. Once he got entangled, he would die. Just like that, the 3 parties chased and ran at the same time. Soon, they reached the edge of the continent. At this moment, the black worm was getting closer to Lu Ming. Its red eyes were glowing fiercely. It looked like it would spit out the red meat at any time. Whoosh! Lu Ming shook his divine battle spear. A ray of spear light shot out and stabbed at the black worm. The black worm didn't dodge. It let the spear light hit its body. Clang! The sound of metal hitting metal was heard. Sparks flew everywhere. The black worm's skin was unharmed. There wasn't even a scratch. As expected, its defense is insane. Lu Ming sighed. He had expected that the black worm's defense would be terrifying. Even Yechu Gongtsang couldn't cut through the meat that it spat out. It meant that its defense was definitely stronger than the red meat. Even if he used his divine battle spear, he wouldn't be able to pierce through it. After all, the divine battle spear couldn't unleash its full power without its origin energy. How can I get out of here? Maybe if I fly out of the continent and into the void, that damn black worm won't chase after me. Lu Ming thought. He was about to fly out of the continent. He would know whether it was good or bad soon. Suddenly, the sky darkened. Far above the continent, there was a river of fire shining down. But at this moment, the sky above the continent was blocked by something. Then, a terrifying aura filled the sky. End of chapter. Chapter 45-56. The whole world seemed to be covered. A large shadow was cast from the void above. A terrifying aura filled the world. Lu Ming and Yechu Gongtsang couldn't help but tremble under the pressure of this aura. A chill spread from their hearts to the top of their heads. Terrifying, extremely terrifying. Not only Lu Ming and Yechu Gongtsang, but the black worm's body was completely stiff. It didn't chase after Lu Ming, but kept trembling as if it was very scared. Lu Ming and Yi Chu Gong Sung couldn't help but look up. Then their pupils shrank sharply, revealing a look of disbelief. Above them, a giant beast was floating in the air. At this time, a strange giant beast with a tiger's head and a lion's body appeared. However, it had a pair of wings. When it opened its wings, it covered the sky and the sun. It also had a pair of sharp claws like an eagle's claws. This giant beast was incomparably huge, like a small meteorite. This is a void beast. A thought appeared in Lu Ming's mind, and he felt bitter in his mouth. Unlucky, this is really unlucky. Fei Huang gave him a jade slip, which recorded some things in the universe ruins in detail. Among them, there was a type of void beast recorded. Logically speaking, the laws and profound meanings of the universe ruins were chaotic. Except for various kinds of worms, it couldn't breed other creatures. It was only in the last few dozen stellar years that the laws and profound meanings of the universe ruins became more orderly and some races were born. However, the void beast didn't appear in the last few dozen stellar years. It had been there since ancient times. No one knew how the void beast appeared. They only knew that since the universe ruins existed, there had been void beasts. The void beast's body was incomparably huge. The big ones were even bigger than planets, and the small ones were comparable to mountains. They roamed the ruins of the universe, eating all sorts of ores or insects as food. Some terrifying void beasts could even swallow a large piece of land. The one that appeared now was definitely a void beast. Although its body wasn't as exaggerated as a planet, Lu Ming speculated that it was very likely to be a young void beast that hadn't grown up yet. However, according to Fei Huang's records, void beasts were extremely rare. In the vast ruins of the universe, it was extremely rare to encounter one. Most people would risk their lives in the universe ruins and never encounter a void beast. Fei Huang had been adventuring in the ruins of the universe for dozens of years, but she had only encountered it twice. Therefore, when Fei Huang talked about the crisis of the universe ruins, she didn't specifically mention it. She just let Lu Ming look at the information. Clearly, Fei Huang didn't think that Lu Ming's luck would be so good that he would encounter a void beast as soon as he entered the universe ruins. Reality proved that Lu Ming's luck was just that good. Whoosh! High up in the sky, the void beast swooped down, bringing along a violent force as it pounced towards the black worm. The black bug was unwilling to give up and wanted to resist. It opened its mouth, and the scarlet strip of flesh flew out like a spear, stabbing towards the void beast's eyes. The void beast didn't dodge, allowing the scarlet strip of flesh to pierce its eye membrane. With a bang, the scarlet strip of flesh bounced back, but the void beast's eye membrane was completely fine. Nestle, Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. The eye membrane was definitely the softest and weakest part of any creature. However, the black bug couldn't even break the defense of the void beast's weakest part. This was simply terrifying. Run! Without hesitation, Lu Ming increased his speed to the extreme and rushed forward. Yi Chu Gong Sung did the same and rushed in another direction. A black bug wasn't something they could deal with, let alone a void beast. If they didn't seize the opportunity to escape, only death would await them. At this moment, the void beast continued to swoop down. It opened its mouth and rolled its tongue, wrapping around the 100-meter-long black bug and swallowing it. The black bug swallowed many heavenly humans in the same way, but in the end, it still became the void beast's food. Munch, munch! After swallowing the black bug, the void beast chewed with a satisfied expression. The void beast didn't chase after Lu Ming and Yi Chu Gong Song. Instead, it swept its gaze across the continent. Suddenly, the void beast flapped its wings and soared into the sky. Violent energy swept out in all directions. The rocks and ancient trees on the continent were directly swept up and turned into ashes. Then, the void beast swooped down and rushed to a spot on the continent. One of its sharp claws directly scratched the ground. Rumble! The ground exploded with earth-shattering rumbles. The void beast's sharp claws directly dug into the depths of the earth. When the claws reached out, it was already holding a black bug. This black bug was several times longer and thicker than the previous one. However, this black bug couldn't resist at all in the void beast's hands. It was thrown into the void beast's mouth and eaten in a few bites. After eating this black bug, the void beast continued to search. After a while, it found another black bug that was a few hundred meters long and ate it. After that, the void beast didn't find any more black bugs. Roar! After not finding any black bugs, the void beast seemed to be very irritable. It roared continuously, shaking the entire continent. Then it looked in the direction where Lu Ming and Yi Chu Gongpsang had escaped. Then it let out a long cry and flapped its wings. Its huge body soared into the sky and chased after Yi Chu Gongpsang. While the void beast was catching the black bugs, Lu Ming and Yi Chu Gongpsang had already escaped with all their might. They had already escaped the continent and entered the void. Moreover, they had already escaped far away in such a short time. Yi Chu Gongpsang had just breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that he was finally safe. Suddenly, a long roar came from behind him, scaring him to death. "Oh no, it's chasing after us!" Yi Chu Gongpsang shouted in horror. His supreme heavenly power burned desperately, increasing his speed to the highest level ever. However, the void beast's speed was too fast. It quickly closed the distance between it and Yi Chu Gongpsang. "No, no, no!" Yi Chu Gongpsang roared angrily, trying his best to escape. He originally wanted to rush towards Lu Ming and follow Lu Ming's example, luring the void beast to Lu Ming. However, he sadly found that he and Lu Ming had escaped in different directions. After flying for so long, the distance between them had increased immeasurably. It was impossible to lure the void beast over. Roar! The void beast roared and flapped its wings. Its huge body broke through the void. It was too fast, and the distance between it and Yi Chu Gongpsang was getting shorter and shorter. Soon, the distance between them was only a few thousand miles. For the void beast, this distance could be covered in the blink of an eye. "No, no, no! I can't accept this!" Yi Chu Gongpsang let out a desperate roar before he was swallowed by the void beast. After swallowing Yi Chu Gongpsang, the void beast looked in the direction where Lu Ming had escaped. Chapter 45-57. In the distant void, Lu Ming's body tensed up. His hair stood on end. It was an instinctive reaction to danger. Although the distance was too far and Lu Ming flew at full speed, he did not see Yechu Gongpsang being killed. However, he could guess that the void beast was coming after them. He could hear the void beast's roar. It shook the entire void. The speed at which the void beast's roar traveled was not the same as that of ordinary sound. As long as it was supported by divine power or other forces, the speed at which the sound traveled was not the same as that of ordinary sound. It was billions of times faster than that of ordinary sound, and even faster than the speed of light. In the world of cultivators, nothing could be viewed with common sense. Lu Ming also heard Yi Chu Gongpsang's final scream. Therefore, Lu Ming concluded that the void beast had caught up with and killed Yechu Gongpsang. In that case, the next target would be him. Needless to say, the sense of danger he sensed came from the void beast. Quick, quick, quick! Lu Ming raised his speed to the limit. His entire body was like an aurora cutting through the void. However, the void beast's speed was still far above Lu Ming's. Before long, Lu Ming heard a terrifying roar from behind. The void beast had caught up. Greater teleportation technique. Lu Ming cast the transference skill and tore through the void to travel. In a flash, he appeared a distance away in front of him. However, it was useless. Although the greater teleportation technique allowed him to move very quickly and directly teleport him into the distance, it was not enough to completely shake off the Void Beast. The distance of the teleportation was always within the Void Beast's line of sight. The Void Beast flapped its wings and caught up. The distance Lu Ming had opened with the greater teleportation technique was quickly shortened. Lu Ming could only continue to use the greater teleportation technique and tear through the void. Lu Ming used the greater teleportation technique continuously, but he still couldn't open up the distance between them. On the contrary, the distance between him and the Void Beast was getting closer and closer. After using the greater teleportation technique a dozen times in a row, Lu Ming's face was somewhat pale. Using greater teleportation at full power consumed a lot of taboo power. If this continued, Lu Ming wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. At this moment, a continent appeared in front of them. This continent didn't seem to have any living creatures, and it was much smaller than the previous one. Greater teleportation. Lu Ming roared. This time, he didn't use the greater teleportation art to teleport himself away. This time, the greater teleportation art's power landed on that small continent. Rumble. That small continent shook violently and then suddenly disappeared. When it reappeared, it was directly in front of the Void Beast and smashed towards it. This was another wonderful use of the greater teleportation technique. Not only could he teleport himself away, but he could also teleport other things to attack. In the starry sky of the universe, he could shift the stars in the sky and smash them at the enemy. This was not a continent that Lu Ming had condensed in the Great Desolation style. This was a true continent. It was extremely heavy, comparable to several dozen planets. If Lu Ming had not broken through to the Divine Lord Realm, it would have been impossible for him to do this. With Lu Ming's current Divine Lord cultivation, he could barely do it. Roar! The Void Beast roared and swiped at the continent with its sharp claws. Rumble! The continent let out a heaven-shaking rumble as cracks appeared on its surface. Then it directly exploded. However, although the continent failed to stop the Void Beast, it did slow it down slightly, slowing it down slightly. Using this opportunity, Lu Ming flew very far away. Roar! The Void Beast seemed to be extremely furious. It let out a terrifying roar and ripples appeared from its mouth, reducing the fragment of the continent to dust. Lu Ming became covered in cold sweat. Too powerful. The Void Beast was just too powerful. It was definitely comparable to an existence at reciprocity. He had only managed to survive until now because he was very far away from the Void Beast. If he was closer, a casual attack from the Void Beast would have been enough to obliterate him. Lu Ming continued to use the greater teleportation technique, frantically teleporting forward. Behind him, the Void Beast roared and continued to pursue Lu Ming. The Void Beast was just too fast. The distance that Lu Ming had managed to create with great difficulty was quickly closed. As a last resort, when Lu Ming saw a small fragment of the continent, he used the greater teleportation technique again, moving it over and smashing it at the Void Beast. Lu Ming used this opportunity to fly away. Only like this did the two of them create some distance. However, Lu Ming paled. Using the greater teleportation technique to move a fragment of the continent consumed far too much energy. Coupled with the energy he had expended earlier, Lu Ming was close to running out of energy. This can't go on. It'll catch up sooner or later. Let's try the copper coffin. Lu Ming took out the copper coffin and pushed it with all his might. However, the lid of the copper coffin did not budge at all. Nestle, Lu Ming really wanted to curse out loud. Back in the ancestral grounds of the elves, he could not open the copper coffin. Now, over a decade had passed, but the copper coffin still could not be opened. What was going on? What was wrong with the copper coffin? If it could not be opened, wouldn't it be useless? Lu Ming pushed a few more times, but he still could not open the copper coffin. He could only give up put it away, and continue flying. That's Lu Ming, who was flying, suddenly shuddered. His eyes widened in shock. This was because a colossus had appeared in the void before him. Of course, it was not a second void beast, but a ship. It was a warship that seemed extremely old. It was covered in the marks of swords and sabers. It seemed to be in tatters. Moreover, a black mist permeated the ship, making it seem eerie and terrifying. There was no one on the ship. No, to be precise, there was a skeleton sitting cross-legged on the deck of the ship. In the void of the universe ruins, a strange warship had actually appeared. This scene was somewhat inconceivable. The warship was extremely huge, like a small planet, and it was sailing in the direction of Lu Ming and the others. Instinctively, Lu Ming's hair stood on end. This was a reaction that would only occur when sensing danger. This warship gave him an extremely dangerous feeling. Roar! Behind them, the void beast also roared. Its speed actually slowed down a little, and there seemed to be a trace of doubt in its eyes. Rumble! The void vibrated, and the warship rushed directly toward Lu Ming. Not good. Lu Ming's face changed drastically. He hurriedly used the greater teleportation technique. In a flash, he disappeared from where he was and appeared in another direction of the void. The old warship rushed past the place where Lu Ming was standing just now and continued forward, charging toward the void beast. Roar! The void beast roared, its eyes flashing with a tyrannical look. It flapped its wings and rushed toward the warship. Chapter 4558. The void beast roamed the ruins of the universe, and the word fear did not exist in its mind. Now, the old warship actually dared to charge at it. With the violent temper of the void beast, it immediately exploded. How could it still care about Lu Ming? It charged at the old warship, wanting to tear it into pieces. The void beast roared. Its body was covered in mysterious energy, and its sharp claws shone as it grabbed at the old warship. Boom! The two behemoths violently collided. The entire void trembled, and a black ripple spread out in all directions. Not good. Lu Ming's face changed drastically. The black ripple was very similar to the black fog on the old warship. It gave people a very dangerous feeling. Lu Ming did not dare to be hit. He used the greater teleportation technique and moved far away. However, just as Lu Ming moved, the black ripple arrived. The impact caused the void to tremble violently. Lu Ming was only halfway through his teleportation when he was pushed out. His body flew far away like a meteor. Puff! Puff! Lu Ming coughed up a mouthful of blood. The black ripple had interrupted the greater teleportation technique and caused him to suffer heavy injuries. His body was in tatters with holes in it. Blood flowed out, and many of his bones were broken. It was a tragic sight. What angered Lu Ming the most was the black fog. That was because the black fog had already seeped into his body, and it had seeped into every cell of his body. It seemed to be constantly corroding his body. In the distance, the two behemoths collided. The result was that the void beast was actually at a disadvantage. After the earth-shattering collision, the void beast's huge body was pushed back hundreds of millions of miles. As for the old warship, it was only pushed back a little. Roar! The void beast seemed to feel that its dignity was being challenged. It let out a terrifying roar, and a terrifying energy rushed out of its body. It opened its mouth, and a beam of light blasted at the old warship. As for itself, it bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it charged at the old warship. The old warship was still shrouded in black fog as it charged at the void beast. The skeleton in front of the warship was motionless, as if it was really an ordinary skeleton. Go, go, go! Seeing the void behemoth charging towards the warship, Lu Ming didn't dare to delay. He raised his speed to the limit and fled for his life. When immortals fight, mortals suffer. Even Lu Ming couldn't withstand the shock waves. The distance between them was already far enough, but Lu Ming was still heavily injured. If they were in close range, his soul would scatter. Even his taboo body wouldn't be able to do anything. Lu Ming's figure disappeared into the distance in an instant. Behind him, there was another earth-shattering roar. Strong qi overflowed, and black ripples swept out in all directions. Fortunately, Lu Ming was far enough away this time, so he wasn't hit. However, Lu Ming did not dare to linger. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The Void Beast and the old warship had clashed. If the Void Beast gave up on the old warship and chased after him, he would really be finished. With such a good opportunity, how could he not escape? Lu Ming circulated his remaining strength with all his might and turned into a beam of light, flying at high speed. Puff! In the process of flying, Lu Ming spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale. That mist is constantly corroding me. Lu Ming whispered, his face abnormally solemn. He had already tried to use his taboo power to refine the mist, but it was useless. Even his taboo power couldn't refine the black mist. Lu Ming tried several times, but to no avail. The black fog was still corroding his body at all times. Not only did his injuries not get better, but they also worsened. I have to find a safe and quiet place to heal my injuries. This black mist is too strange. It's an energy I've never seen before. Lu Ming's face was abnormally solemn. This black mist was actually formed by a kind of energy. However, Lu Ming had never seen this kind of energy before. It was extremely strange and terrifying. Now that he was flying with all his might, he couldn't refine it with all his might. He had to find a quiet and safe place to refine it with all his might. Otherwise, he didn't know what the consequences would be if this dragged on. In this way, Lu Ming endured the pain caused by his injuries and continued to fly. Fortunately, the Void Beast didn't fly over. Just like that, a day passed. During this day, the black mist was still corroding Lu Ming's body, corroding every cell in Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's injuries were getting worse and worse. He had lost a lot of weight and looked like a bag of bones. His aura was incomparably weak. Now, Lu Ming estimated that he couldn't even defeat a divine emperor, a continent. At this time, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. A huge continent appeared in front of him. The size of this continent was definitely bigger than any continent that Lu Ming had seen before, because looking from afar it was suspended in the void, and he couldn't see the end of it. Far above this continent, there was a river of fire that flowed by, illuminating this continent with light. Lu Ming didn't hesitate and rushed towards this continent, landing on the edge of the continent. There are plants. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. There were plants on this continent. Although it was only the edge of the continent, there were still mountains and forests full of vitality. Lu Ming landed in a huge canyon. He scanned the surroundings with his spiritual sense and didn't find anything unusual. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and circulated his energy to refine the black mist. Lu Ming's body glowed, and every cell was trembling. The taboo power in every cell was fully erupting, trying to refine the black mist that had invaded his cells. But after a while, Lu Ming stopped, and his face was extremely gloomy. It still didn't work. He mobilized the taboo power in every cell, but it still didn't work. Back then, when he was invaded by the restriction power on the celestial armor, it also seeped into every cell, and he easily refined it with the taboo power. But now this black mist didn't work. Even the taboo power couldn't refine it. What kind of strange power is this? Even the taboo power can't refine it. Is it some kind of terrifying power from the last era? Lu Ming's face was gloomy. Of course, he wouldn't give up so easily. After resting for a while, he swallowed a large number of divine pills and continued to circulate the taboo power to refine it. But the result was the same. He couldn't refine it. He still couldn't refine it. On the contrary, the black mist was still corroding his body, causing his injuries to become more and more serious. Now, his appearance was extremely terrifying. There were many wounds all over his body, and it was as if the essence of his flesh and blood had been sucked away. He was all skin and bones like a mummy. His aura was very weak, as if a casual punch would shatter him. Lu Ming, don't tell me you're going to die like this? No, no. Chiu turned into a ball and rolled around Lu Ming anxiously. There were only 2 chapters left today. After sitting in front of the computer for a long time, his waist was about to explode, and he couldn't move anymore. In fact, it started to hurt last month. At that time, I bought some plasters and continued to write. A few days later, it was fine, but I didn't expect it to hurt again yesterday. I endured it and wrote 3 chapters yesterday, but it was too painful at night. This morning, I went to the hospital for an X-ray. I thought there was something wrong with my bones, but it turned out to be a strain on my lumbar muscles. My friends in the reader group all advised me to take a good rest and not update for the next few days. But after thinking about it, I still couldn't do that. I had never stopped updating since I started writing. It would be even more unbearable for me to stop updating. So I laid on the bed and wrote using my voice. But I really wasn't used to it. There were a bunch of wrong words, and I had no inspiration. Brothers and sisters, when I recover, I will definitely rise again. I'm going to cultivate in seclusion to recover from my injuries. End of chapter. Chapter 45-59. Don't worry, Chiu. I've been through so many dangers along the way. It won't be that easy for this black fog to take my life. Stay on the side and protect me. I'll continue refining. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Don't worry. Focus on healing. Leave the side to me. Chiu Ali. Lu Ming nodded and continued to operate the forbidden power to refine. This time, tens of thousands of cells on Lu Ming's body shone like stars. These tens of thousands of cells were all cells that had been integrated with secret technique runes. These tens of thousands of cells were connected by a silk thread to form a door. In the middle of the door, a yellow mud road appeared, leading to an unknown dark place. There was also a pool of blood on the yellow mud road. It had been more than 10 years since Lu Ming cultivated this yellow mud road, but this pool of blood was still bright and eye-catching, as if it had just been spilled. This was Lu Ming's door that connected to the cosmic sea. At this moment, a suction force suddenly appeared in front of the yellow mud road. This suction force enveloped Lu Ming's entire body. The black fog in his body seemed to be about to be sucked over. The black fog seemed to be unwilling to be sucked over and struggled frantically. Suddenly, Lu Ming's entire body felt like it was being pricked by countless needles. It was extremely uncomfortable. Ordinary people would definitely not be able to bear this kind of pain. However, Lu Ming had endured all kinds of pain along the way. This kind of pain, Lu Ming gritted his teeth and endured. Continue. Lu Ming growled and urged with all his strength. Tens of thousands of cells emitted a dazzling light, and the door formed was also abnormally dazzling. The suction force formed by the door also became stronger. There was a powerful force that wanted to pull the black fog in his cells over. Finally, a trace of the black fog was sucked over and suspended above the yellow mud road. Lu Ming was ecstatic. Although he had only absorbed a trace of the black fog, there was still a long way to go before he could completely remove the black fog in his body. However, this was a good sign. As long as he could absorb the black fog, there was hope. At most, it would take some time. Lu Ming continued to operate the door to absorb the black fog. After a while, another wisp of black mist was absorbed and merged with the previous wisp above the yellow dirt road. Lu Ming felt his body relax a little. This might be an illusion. After all, he had only absorbed 2 strands, which was not even 1/10,000th of the total amount of black fog in his body. Keep going. Keep going. Lu Ming operated the door with all his might and absorbed the black fog. A day passed in the blink of an eye. After a day of hard work, He had absorbed about 1% of the black mist in his body. After absorbing 1%, he really did feel a little more relaxed. His aura also became a little stronger, and a faint luster flickered on his skin. At this rate, Lu Ming would only need 100 days to get rid of all the black fog. At this moment, rustling sounds could be heard from the surroundings of the canyon, causing Lu Ming's expression to change. As for Qiu, it immediately raised its vigilance. A few pieces protruded from its round body, forming a few battle blades as it scanned its surroundings. The rustling sounds were getting closer and closer. Finally, Lu Ming saw what was approaching. It was a type of insect. This type of insect was pitch black and looked like centipedes. Each of them was as thick as an eggplant. They were densely packed all around the canyon. At a glance, there was no telling how many of them there were. When these centipede-like insects saw Lu Ming, their bodies shot out like black lightning and charged toward Lu Ming. "Kill!" Qiu shouted. Its round body rushed out and waved its battle blade. Immediately, hundreds of dazzling blade lights burst out and slashed at those insects. Clang! 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 The battle blade slashed at the insects as if it had hit metal, producing clanging sounds. Hundreds of insects were sent flying and also cut in two. But the terrifying thing was that these insects that were cut in two did not die. They continued to twist their bodies and charged toward Lu Ming and Qiu. After the insect was cut in half, it turned into two. Their numbers decreased instead of increasing. "Damn it!" Qiu shouted and stopped attacking with his blade lights. His body quickly wriggled and transformed into a mirror. Back then, Qiu had swallowed a few broken, source-level divine weapons. One of them was a broken mirror that was almost the same as Qiu's current form. The mirror shone and shot out a huge beam of light that enveloped dozens of insects. This beam of light had terrifying destructive power. Those insects that were hit by the beam of light exploded and dissipated into ashes. But there were too many insects in the surroundings. They were densely packed and charged toward Lu Ming and Qiu. Although Qiu tried its best to block, it could not stop all the insects. A portion of them broke through Qiu's defense and charged toward Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, be careful!" Qiu shouted. In an instant, those insects approached Lu Ming. "Scram!" Lu Ming shouted coldly. A powerful force rushed out of his body and spread in all directions. Those bugs were sent flying, smashing into other bugs along the way. Their attack power is not strong. Lu Ming thought. He found that the attack power of these insects was not strong. At most, it was equivalent to the attack power of a void god. If Lu Ming was at his peak, even if he stood there and let these insects attack, they would not be able to do anything to Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's current state was too weak. His strength was less than 100%, especially since there were still many wounds on his body that had not healed. Being attacked by so many insects would have a great impact. Although the attack power of these insects was not strong, their defense power was astonishing. Although Lu Ming's strength was less than 100%, the shock wave that he sent out was at least equivalent to the attack power of a divine king. These insects were not destroyed and were only sent flying. Their attack power was so weak, but their defense power was so strong. The insects of the universe, ruins, were indeed strange. Those insects twisted their bodies and charged toward Lu Ming again. Lu Ming sent out another shock wave and sent these insects flying. However, these insects were still fine and continued to charge toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming frowned. Although the attack power of these insects was not strong, they still had a great impact on him by constantly charging at him. He now needed to circulate his power to dispel the black fog. However, with these insects interfering, he could not fully dispel the black fog. The black fog was constantly corroding him. The longer it dragged on, the more disadvantageous it was for him. With his current remaining strength, it was not enough to destroy these insects. Qiu could destroy them, but there were too many of them. Cho alone could not kill them all. Boom! When the insects approached, Lu Ming erupted with a force and sent these insects flying. End of chapter. Chapter 4560. Just like that, Lu Ming attacked dozens of times in a row and repelled dozens of waves of insects. However, this way, the black fog took the opportunity to counterattack, causing his face to turn paler and his aura to weaken. At this moment, Cho had killed at least tens of thousands of insects. However, the insects in all directions were still endless. They kept rushing towards Lu Ming and Cho. There was simply no way to kill them. We can only leave here. Cho, protect me and break out. Lu Ming said to Cho, don't worry, leave it to me. I'll kill them all. Cho roared and rushed to Lu Ming's side. It flew onto Lu Ming's body, wanting to transform into armor to cover Lu Ming and then rush out. At this moment, Lu Ming's gaze shifted and he looked in a direction. That was because in that direction there was a thick cloud of smoke that was spreading towards them. Moreover, that direction was upwind. With the help of the wind, the thick smoke billowed and enveloped the area. Wherever the thick smoke passed, the insects seemed to be very afraid and retreated one after another. Some turned around and ran. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Obviously, this thick smoke could restrain these insects. The thick smoke grew bigger and bigger, and the entire valley was shrouded in thick smoke. This thick smoke did not affect Lu Ming and Cho at all, but it was a great deterrent to those insects. Wherever the thick smoke passed, countless insects fled. In a short while, the originally densely packed insects actually fled without a single one left. Lu Ming spread out his spirit sense. Sure enough, he did not find any insects in the surroundings. Lu Ming did not leave immediately. He was waiting. The thick smoke would not rise for no reason. It must be intentional. Who was it? Or rather, what kind of living being was it? On this strange continent in the ruins of the universe. What kind of living being would save him? Strange. Lu Ming looked in that direction. In the thick smoke, he saw a figure walking over. Human. Lu Ming was shocked. The figure that was flying over was actually in human form. Could it be the heavenly human race? But how could the celestial race save him? Just now, he didn't use the great imitation technique to change his aura and appearance. If the celestial race saw him, they would definitely recognize him. Could it be someone from Heaven Destroyer? It was also possible. Although this area was newly developed and occupied by the experts of the Heavenly Palace, Fei Huang said that there were also a few people from the Heaven Destroyer adventuring in this area. It wasn't surprising to run into people from the Heaven Destroyer. Soon the figure approached, and the outline became clearer and clearer. It was a young man who looked to be about 16 or 17 years old. He still had a childish air about him, and as he looked around, he dashed toward Lu Ming. It's really a human. What's going on? His cultivation is so low, not even at the deity realm. Seeing this young man, Lu Ming was extremely puzzled. He could sense that this young man was a human, but his cultivation was too low. He actually did not even reach deity realm, only heavenly emperor realm cultivation. This was simply unbelievable. This was the ruins of the universe. How could a human who was not even at the deity realm appear here? Could it be that the other party was actually a terrifying old monster who deliberately hid his cultivation? But even if he hid his cultivation, he shouldn't hide his cultivation to the heavenly emperor realm. This was really too low. Anyone who saw it would feel abnormal. Big brother, are you okay? Are your injuries serious? Are you okay? The young man walked over and asked. Lu Ming frowned slightly. At such a close distance, he still couldn't see any signs of the young man hiding his cultivation. It was as if his cultivation was really only at the heavenly emperor realm. This was really unbelievable. I'm fine. Did you release the thick smoke just now? Lu Ming asked. Yes, The centipedes are afraid of the thick smoke from the burning talisman fairy flower. Once they smell the thick smoke, they will run away. I just saw that you were besieged by a large number of centipedes. I just happened to have some talisman fairy flowers with me, so I immediately lit them. Fortunately, the centipedes were driven away. Thank God, the young man explained. Lu Ming observed carefully. From his expression, this person really didn't look like an old monster hiding his cultivation. Little brother, thank you for saving me just now. Lu Ming cupped his fists and thanked him. Big brother, you don't have to be polite. I just happened to pass by here. Since I met you, how can I not save you? Let's leave quickly. After the smoke of the talisman fairy flower dissipates, those centipedes will come back. That will be troublesome, the young man said. Okay, let's leave first. Lu Ming nodded and also planned to leave this place. Obviously, this place was not suitable for healing. There were insects all around, and he couldn't heal in peace. The young man led the way, and the two headed north. Little brother, what's your name? Why are you here? While rushing, Lu Ming asked tentatively. He found that the young man didn't know how to fly. With the cultivation of the heavenly emperor realm, even on those life planets in the universe, he couldn't fly, let alone in the universe ruins. My name is Haizong. I appeared here because the village I live in is not far from here. I often come here to pick herbs, the young man said. Lu Ming's pupils suddenly shrank. He was very surprised. The young man, who was Haizong, lived nearby, and the village he lived in. What did all this mean? It meant that Haizong was a native of this place. There was actually a native of the human race in the universe ruins. Was he a descendant left behind by the powerhouses who had explored the universe ruins in the past, or was he a creature born on this continent? Because, according to Fei Huang, the laws and profound meanings of the universe ruins had become much more orderly and stable in the past few decades. Some creatures had already been born and formed a race, but their strength was still not very strong. However, Lu Ming still felt that it was inconceivable for the universe ruins to give birth to the human race. Perhaps they were the descendants of the human powerhouses who had traveled here in the past. Lu Ming decided to beat around the bush. The young man's thoughts weren't deep. After Lu Ming beat around the bush, Lu Ming knew a lot of secrets. The young man called himself a member of the Yen clan. The Yen clan was spread all over this continent, forming countless forces of various sizes. The Yen clan was born on this continent. Their ancestors had walked out of the ancestral mountain and multiplied. Until now, no one knew how many years had passed. Lu Ming's heart was in turmoil, and he couldn't calm down. Haizong and his other clansmen were actually born on this continent. Why did this continent give birth to the human race? He had observed carefully. Haizong was really a human. This was absolutely true, unless he had also practiced the great imitation technique. This continent could give birth to the human race, which made Lu Ming wonder how he, as a human, came to be. Could it be that the human race in the primitive universe was also born like this? Most of the other races in the primitive universe were the descendants of the original gods. After generations of inheritance, they formed the various races. For example, the dragon race, the devil race, the blood race, and so on. Of course, the heavenly human race wasn't, and neither was the angel race. Legend had it that the heavenly human race was created. P.S. My lumbar muscles are strained. It's very painful. I'm lying in bed and writing on my phone. It's too slow. Sorry. Today my old waist is still bursting. I'm lying in bed and typing with my voice. It's too slow. There's a bunch of wrong words. In the end, I switched to typing with my phone. It's just as slow. I can only type a few hundred words in an hour. After typing twice, not only are my eyes uncomfortable, but my neck and arms are also very sore. End of chapter. Chapter 4561. In fact, Lu Ming also didn't know how the heavenly human race appeared. The power they controlled was completely different from that of other races, and they had their own system. Another thing was that Lu Ming did not know how the human race in the primordial universe first appeared. In the past, he thought that the human race, the dragon race, the demon race, and so on had evolved from the bloodline of primitive gods. But now it seemed that it wasn't the case at all. The evolution of the human race was not simple. The two chatted as they walked. After a few hours, a village appeared in front of them. The village wasn't big, and it was surrounded by a fence made of a strange wood. There were some strange flowers and plants around the fence. These flowers and the wooden fence emitted a strange fragrance. Brother Tianyan, there are all sorts of insects around this area. The wooden fence and the smell of the flowers and plants around it can deter the insects from approaching. Hai Zong explained. Tianyan was the alias Lu Ming used. After all, this area was developed by the heavenly human tribe. There might be members of the heavenly human tribe on this continent. Lu Ming decided not to use his real name. It was better to use an alias to avoid attracting the attention of the heavenly human tribe. After all, he was now in the body of the Black Mist, and his strength was very weak. If he attracted the attention of the heavenly human race, it would be troublesome. He had used this alias in the spirit space, so when Hai Zong asked, he casually used this alias. No one in the primitive universe knew this alias. Brother Tianyan, don't you have insects in your world? Hai Zong asked curiously. Previously, Lu Ming had been beating around the bush. Hai Zong had always thought that Lu Ming was the same as him, a person from this world. It was just that he came from a distant place. In fact, with Hai Zong's cultivation, he couldn't even fly. He didn't have the concept of other worlds in his mind at all. He only knew that this world was everything. Of course, he didn't know that Lu Ming wasn't from their world at all. The two walked into the village. When the surrounding villagers saw Hai Zong, they all nodded and greeted him. After a while, the two came to a small courtyard. The courtyard wasn't large and was made of wood. It was very simple and crude, but it was very clean. Brother Tianyan, you can stay in this room. Hai Zong pointed to a room on the right. Hai Zong, do you live alone? Lu Ming asked. That was because his spiritual sense had already swept over the monastery. Other than them, there was no one else present. Furthermore, there were some basic daily necessities that could only be used for one person. Yeah, I used to live with my grandfather, but he passed away a few years ago, and I'm the only one left. As he spoke, Hai Zong's eyes reddened. My apologies. Lu Ming said, It's fine. I was just being a little sentimental. Big Brother Tianyan, your injuries haven't healed yet. You should hurry up and treat your injuries. Hai Zong said. Yes. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, he had to make the best use of his time to refine the black fog. The black fog was constantly corroding his body and aggravating his injuries. He walked into the room, closed the door, and let Cho guard him. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and circulated his forbidden power. Tens of thousands of cells in his body lit up and constructed a door. A powerful suction force was generated and enveloped his entire body. Immediately, the black mist in all his cells began to become restless and frantically struggled. However, it didn't struggle for long before a trace of the black mist was absorbed by the door and merged with the mist above the yellow mud road. Just like that, 3 days passed in a flash. In 3 days, the black mist had decreased by about 3%. In addition to the 1% that he had absorbed before, Lu Ming had absorbed a total of 4%. Lu Ming's situation was a little better than before. His complexion was a little stronger, and his muscles had bulged a little. His entire body looked a little plumper and not as terrifying as before. There are no bugs here to disturb me. In another 3 months, I'll be able to recover. Lu Ming pondered. This feeling of not being in the right state and his cultivation being weak was really uncomfortable. Lu Ming desperately wanted to recover as soon as possible. Dong, dong, dong. At that instant, a series of crisp chimes were heard. The next moment, there was a knock on the door. Brother Tianyin, it's time for prayer. Hai Zong's voice came from outside. Prayer? Lu Ming frowned, not understanding what was going on. Lu Ming withdrew his forbidden power, opened the door, and walked out. Hai Zong, what is prayer? Lu Ming thought for a moment and decided to ask. Hai Zong didn't know that there were other worlds, so he shouldn't suspect him. Brother Tianyin, don't you need to pray to the gods in your hometown? Hai Zong was surprised. My hometown is very remote, so there's no need to pray. I don't know what prayer is about. Can you tell me? Lu Ming said. It seems that the world is too big, and there are places that the light of the gods can't cover. Prayer is to pray to the gods, to pray for their blessings and lead us to prosperity and glory. Hai Zong said. Gods? Lu Ming was a little confused. In the primitive universe, immortal realm existences were considered gods in the minor kiliacosm. They were powerful and omnipotent, but he knew that immortal realm cultivators were just slightly stronger cultivators. What were the gods on this continent? There are no gods in my hometown. Hai Zong, have you seen any gods? Lu Ming asked. No, I haven't seen any gods, but the elders said that the gods can only guide us to resist the attacks of the bugs, guide us to cultivation, and lead us to glory, Hai Zong said. Could it be that No, our cultivation methods were all imparted to us by gods. Lu Ming continued to ask. Well, not all of them, Brother Tianyin. Don't you know that the cultivation methods of the Yen clan were all comprehended by the ancestors of the Yen clan from the Mountain of Ancestors? But the gods passed down a part of it later, Hai Zong said. Hai Zong asked. He had some doubts about Lu Ming's question. If it weren't for the fact that he didn't have any concept of other worlds, he would have suspected that Lu Ming wasn't from this world. Why didn't he know some common knowledge? I really don't know. My cultivation methods were all passed down to me by my father. I've never asked about other things, so I know very little. Lu Ming casually found an excuse. Oh, I see. Hai Zong nodded. The two chatted as they walked and soon arrived at a relatively large courtyard. At this moment, there were already thousands of people gathered in the courtyard. They were all from this village, men and women of all ages. In front of the courtyard, there was a stone statue of a middle-aged man who was 10 meters tall. This is the heavenly human race. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He was too familiar with the heavenly human race. Regardless of gender, the heavenly human race had exquisite facial features and were easy to recognize. Moreover, there was a strange aura coming from the statue, which was clearly the aura of the heavens. Chapter 4562. Lu Ming was sure that the statue was of the heavenly human tribe. Could the deity that Hai Zong was talking about be the heavenly human tribe? Lu Ming's heart stirred. That was very likely. The Yen tribe was born on this continent. In the ruins of the universe, the laws and ultimacies were in a mess. It was only in the last few dozen stellar years that the laws and ultimacies became more orderly. In other words, the history of the Yen tribe was only a few dozen stellar years. They had cultivated from nothing in the past few dozen stellar years. They would not be strong at all. The strongest person in the Yen tribe would not have a high cultivation level. Lu Ming sensed that the strongest person in the village was only at the empty god realm. If the heavenly human tribe came to this continent, they would be at least at the 9th level of the divine lord realm or the divine master realm. In the eyes of the Yen tribe, they were no different from deities. As long as the experts of the heavenly human tribe showed some skills, they would be worshipped as deities by the Yen tribe. Okay, time's up. Let's start the prayer. There was an elder under the statue. He said to the statue respectfully and then knelt down in front of the statue and bowed deeply. The other people in the yard did the same, including Hai Zong. They bowed deeply and started praying. Lu Ming did not do that. How could he bow to the statue of the heavenly human tribe? He stood there and watched silently. The villagers were praying wholeheartedly, so no one noticed that Lu Ming was still standing. After a while, Lu Ming saw something that shocked him. He realized that when the villagers started praying, they seemed to have some kind of resonance with the statue. Lu Ming activated the forbidden energy in his eyes. He could clearly see that there was a thread on the villagers' bodies that was connected to the statue. It seemed that something was following the thread and gathering on the statue. A layer of hazy light appeared on the statue. Is this the legendary power of faith? The heavenly human tribe is collecting the power of faith? Lu Ming's heart trembled. He had read in an ancient book that in the early days of the Heavenly Palace era, there was a cultivation method that was popular for a time. That was the cultivation method of the power of faith. Many experts would gather believers and power of faith from all over the place. Many powerful beings had believers all over the vital planets and even the minor worlds. However, there was a huge drawback to cultivating the power of faith. It was still fine in the early stages, but the more one cultivated it, the harder it would be to control it, and one could easily suffer backlash. After all, the power of faith came from countless different living beings and contained different wills. Once it reached a certain level, even top-notch experts would find it difficult to control it. Their bodies would be affected, and they might even suffer a backlash from the power of faith. In the best-case scenario, they would be severely injured, and in the worst-case scenario, they would die. Thus, as time passed, that sort of cultivation method was no longer practiced by anyone. It was practically extinct. He didn't expect to see the heavenly human tribe collecting the power of faith here. What is the heavenly human tribe doing? Is it for cultivation or something else? Lu Ming frowned as he pondered. The surroundings were silent. Everyone was praying with all their hearts. Wait, there was one person who wasn't praying with all his heart, and that was Seawater. Lu Ming found that the thread between Seawater and the statue was very faint, as if it would dissipate at any time. Seawater said that he believes in the gods, but in fact, I'm afraid that's not what he thinks. Lu Ming smiled slightly. The faint thread meant that Seawater wasn't praying with all his heart. He was just putting on an act here. Lu Ming watched quietly. After 3 hours, the prayer ended. Under the statue, the old man, who was the village chief, was the first to end the prayer. He opened his eyes and stood up, raising his arms to announce the end of the prayer. Afterward, he saw Lu Ming standing there with his back straight and his eyes closed to rest. In fact, Lu Ming was secretly absorbing the black mist. He didn't want to waste time. How dare you not pray? How dare you? The village chief pointed at Lu Ming and roared. This roar woke everyone up, and they all looked at Lu Ming. What? This person didn't pray? How dare he? This is blasphemy against the gods. He must be punished. I suggest you burn him alive on a stake. Many villagers shouted. Lu Ming actually dared to disrespect and blaspheme the gods. They were afraid. They were afraid that the gods would be angry and not protect them. They might even punish them. Therefore, they vented their anger on Lu Ming. Men, drag him out and burn him to death. The village chief shouted. Immediately, a few burly men stepped forward, wanting to take Lu Ming down. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. The strongest person in this village was only at the empty god realm, but they wanted to kill him. Even if he didn't do it himself, Chiu, who was at the 9th great god realm, could destroy this village in one move. Wait, village chief, wait. At this moment, Haizong yelled and hurriedly stood in front of Lu Ming. Seawater, are you trying to protect him? The village chief said coldly. Village chief, Tianyan isn't from our village. Seawater explained. I know he isn't from our village. But even if he isn't from our village, he has to pray when he enters our village. This is the rule set by the gods. The village chief said coldly. Village chief, Tianyan's village is very remote. It isn't covered by the light of the gods yet. Also, the gods have a rule that there is no need to pray under special circumstances. Tianyun is seriously injured and needs to be treated. If he prays, his injuries will worsen. This is in accordance with the rules set by the gods. I believe the gods won't blame him. Seawater explained loudly. The village chief and the other villagers looked at Lu Ming carefully. Lu Ming's condition was indeed very bad. Although the wounds on his body had recovered a little over the past few days, he was still very skinny and his aura was weak. He indeed looked as if his vitality had been greatly damaged. The village chief and the others heaved a sigh of relief. He didn't need to pray when he was seriously injured. The gods did have such a rule. They believed the gods wouldn't blame him. All right, Seawater, take him away. Next time, if your injuries aren't healed, you don't need to come. But if you are, you must come as long as you are still in our village. Otherwise, you will be sentenced to death. The village chief said sternly. Yes, yes, yes. Seawater nodded repeatedly. Then, he gave Lu Ming a look and left with Lu Ming. After walking far away, Seawater sighed and said that was close. Fortunately, your injuries aren't healed. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. Lu Ming smiled and didn't mind. He said, How long have you been praying like this? Are other places praying like this? A long time. It has been passed down for many generations, at least tens of thousands of years. As far as I know, wherever the light of the gods shines, people have to pray. Seawater said. Lu Ming nodded silently. The heavenly human tribe had excavated the heavenly star area about tens of thousands of years ago. Chapter 4563. After returning to his residence, Lu Ming continued to cultivate in seclusion, absorbing the black fog. 3 days later, the bell rang once more. The time for prayer had arrived. This time, Lu Ming did not go with Haizong. Instead, he remained here and continued to absorb the black fog. Just like this, 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, when the last sliver of black fog was absorbed, Lu Ming's aura flourished and reached its peak. The injuries on his body had long since healed. His muscles were swollen, and his qi and blood were boiling. Lu Ming discovered that after this tribulation, his cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds. He had reached the peak of first-layer Divine Lord Realm. He was not far from second-layer Divine Lord Realm. Originally, he had absorbed and refined around 50 desolate crystals. But if he wanted to reach the peak of first-layer Divine Lord Realm, he would need another 50 desolate crystals. But now he had reached the peak of first-layer Divine Lord Realm without even absorbing a single desolate crystal. It was clear that the black fog had forced out Lu Ming's potential. In this period of time, his body still had forbidden energy, constantly fighting against the black fog, constantly stimulating his potential. Now that the black mist had been removed, his cultivation had naturally increased. Then, Lu Ming's gaze fell on the yellow dirt road. At this moment, there was a ball of black fog above the yellow dirt road. It was about the size of an egg, and it was precisely the energy that Lu Ming had absorbed from his body. This black fog is very strange and terrifying. If I use it, it can become a trump card. Lu Ming pondered. The reason he had been able to resist the black fog for so long was entirely because he had forbidden energy. He had scattered this forbidden energy throughout his body to every cell, and this also served as a form of resistance against the black fog. But others did not have forbidden energy. If they came into contact with the black fog, their bodies would rapidly corrode. Only those with a high enough cultivation would be able to resist it. This black fog was absolutely terrifying. Lu Ming then thought of that old warship floating in the void. Its entire body was covered in this black fog, and it was even more terrifying. Previously, Lu Ming was very far away. He had only been slightly touched by the aftershocks, and he had almost died. If he got close to that warship, he would definitely be corroded to the point that not even dregs would be left. Where did that old warship come from? Is it the treasure of some top-notch expert, or was it left behind from the previous era? I wonder what happened to the worship and the void beast. Did the old worship get destroyed by the void beast? Lu Ming let his imagination run wild. After a while, Lu Ming shook his head and threw these questions out of his mind. After being delayed for so many months, it's time to take action. Let's secretly investigate first and see where the celestial race is. Lu Ming was thinking about his next plan. At this time, the bell rang and it was time for prayer. After Haizong left, Lu Ming's figure flashed as he left the village. Then he shot up into the sky and flew off into the distance. In the process of flying, Lu Ming's figure and appearance quickly changed. In the end, he became a middle-aged celestial race man. After transforming into a celestial race man, Lu Ming did not have any scruples. He increased his speed to the maximum and flew into the sky, first to look down. This continent was really huge. Its overall area was many times larger than the dragon race's mother planet. Everywhere was lush and full of vitality. This continent is full of vitality and is incomparably huge. It must contain treasures. Otherwise, the celestial race would not have taken a fancy to it. Maybe there are a lot of chaos crystals here. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Previously, the continent with the black heaven source gold contained a lot of chaos crystals. This continent was many times larger than that continent. Moreover, it gave birth to the celestial race. It was definitely not simple. There might be a big harvest. There's a big city over there. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming looked down and saw a big city. He flew down and shrouded the city with his spirit sense. This big city had a large population. They were all humans, which was the celestial race that Haizong mentioned. Unfortunately, the people in this big city were all praying at this moment. In the city, there were many statues of the celestial race. At least a few million people were praying devoutly. Traces of faith power were constantly being absorbed by the statues. Lu Ming frowned. He knew that the celestial race absorbing the faith power would definitely be useful. However, he did not know what it was exactly. However, Lu Ming would destroy anything that was beneficial to the celestial race. Therefore, Lu Ming decided to investigate this matter. Lu Ming, I feel that there's something delicious in that direction. It's super delicious, Qiu shouted. Its eyes were rolling around and emitting a dazzling light. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming followed Qiu's instructions and flew in that direction. Not long after, he saw a large mountain range. In one of the mountain ranges, many figures could be seen, densely packed together. This is a mine. The people here are not praying. Lu Ming was startled. He hid in the dark and observed. As expected, he found something. On the top of one of the mountains, Lu Ming saw a few people. Those people were all from the celestial race. There were 5 people from the celestial race in total. One of them was a divine lord, but he was only at the first layer of the divine lord layer. The other 4 were elders of the 9th layer of the divine lord layer. There was a huge gap between the 9th layer of the divine lord layer and the divine lord layer. It was too difficult to break through. Therefore, there were many elders of the celestial race who were stuck at the 9th layer of the divine lord layer. Many of those elders of the 9th layer of the divine lord layer would choose to go to the ruins of the universe to seek opportunities to break through. Although the ruins of the universe were very dangerous for cultivators of the 9th layer of the divine lord layer, they had to take the risk. If they continued, their lifespan would be exhausted. Apart from the 5 from the celestial race, the others are all from the human race. The human race is mining. Lu Ming continued to observe. He found that there were many mines of different sizes in the mountain range. A large number of humans went in and out of the mines. They were busy working. However, none of them went in and out of the mines. Apparently, the people of the celestial race were just managing. Delicious food, Lu Ming. There's delicious food in those mines. Delicious food. Qiu's voice kept ringing in Lu Ming's ears. Qiu's eyes were shining. Qiu, don't be impatient. Let's find a chance to go in and have a look. Lu Ming said. The 5 from the celestial race were on the highest mountain. Their spirit senses covered the area. Lu Ming would definitely be discovered if he went in directly. Although he had turned into a member of the celestial race, he would be exposed if he met the other members of the celestial race. Moreover, the strongest of the 5 was only at the first layer of the Divine Lord layer. Lu Ming could easily kill them. However, Lu Ming didn't want to alert them now. He didn't know how many members of the celestial race were on this continent and how many experts there were. If he alerted them, it would be disadvantageous for him. He had to investigate secretly first. Chapter 4564. Lu Ming used the great concealment technique and hid in the dark to observe. Sure enough, a few hours later, Lu Ming found an opportunity. A burly human left the mine as if he was going to do something. Soon, he left the range of the heavenly human tribe's spiritual sense. Swoosh! Lu Ming rushed out and struck the back of the burly man's head with his palm. Lu Ming controlled his strength very well. He only knocked the burly man unconscious and did not kill him. Lu Ming was also a principled person. The other party had no enmity with him, so he naturally would not kill him easily. Then he waved his hand and sent the burly man into the chaos ring. Then he used the great imitation technique and transformed into the burly man's appearance. Even his life origin aura was exactly the same. Lu Ming was not in a hurry to return to the mine. If the burly man returned as soon as he left the mine, he was afraid that it would arouse the heavenly human tribe's suspicion. Lu Ming waited nearby for a few hours and then swaggered toward the mine. When he approached the mine, the heavenly human tribe's spiritual sense swept over and circled him once before retracting. Naturally, they did not find any flaws. Lu Ming continued to walk forward as if nothing had happened and arrived at the mine. This area was full of potholes, and each mine was emitting a hazy light. Many people were going in and out busy. Lu Ming randomly chose a mine and walked in. In the depths of the mine, he found a large number of humans mining and refining the metal in the ore. It's icy fire star silver. It's actually icy fire star silver. After Lu Ming carefully identified the metal ore, Lu Ming's heart shook violently. He was somewhat in disbelief. The metal contained in the ore here was actually icy fire star silver. Previously, Chiu had mentioned icy fire star silver in detail. When refining a source-level divine weapon, if icy fire star silver was added, the success rate would be greatly increased. It could increase the success rate of refining a source-level divine weapon to 20%. This was because the ice fire star silver could perfectly harmonize all kinds of materials, allowing them to fuse together perfectly, greatly reducing the difficulty of forging a soul-grade weapon. As for Chiu, because it had eaten too many original weapons and main weapons, it had produced a lot of impurities. It was stuck at the top of the 9th great supreme god layer. It would take tens of thousands of years to break through to the next level. However, if he had enough ice fire star silver, he could quickly refine the impurities and evolve again. It was truly a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance without any effort. Eat, I want to eat. Chiu was so excited that he kept sending voice transmissions to Lu Ming. No rush, no rush. Let's observe for a while first. It won't be too late to make a move later. Lu Ming said. Only then did Chiu calm down. No, this is... At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly felt a piercing pain on his skin, as if it was being cut by countless blades. Ouch, it hurts. Lu Ming, there's something wrong with the lighting here. Chiu also began to shout. Of course, they were all transmitting their voices through their souls and not through their voices. That's right, the lighting here. Lu Ming also noticed it. The mine was filled with hazy light. This kind of light shone on him and had a terrifying attacking power. It was going to destroy him completely. Qiu, go into the ancient desolation ring first. Lu Ming thought. Qiu disappeared from his wrist and went into the ancient desolation ring without anyone noticing. Lu Ming circulated the forbidden energy and covered his body. Only then did he feel better. However, Lu Ming realized that this kind of light was still attacking the forbidden energy. The forbidden energy didn't completely block it, but was constantly consuming it. If this continued, the forbidden energy would be pierced through sooner or later. What kind of energy is this? It's so terrifying. No, why are these people fine? Lu Ming discovered that the people who were mining here were completely fine. They seemed to be exactly the same as they were in other places. What's going on? This kind of light won't attack them? Lu Ming thought quickly, but he didn't show it on his face. He went to another mine and found that the situation was the same. All the mines had this kind of light. The light wasn't dazzling, but its power was terrifying. In just a short while, a third of Lu Ming's forbidden energy was consumed. This speed was simply astonishing. It gave people the feeling that this kind of light was even more terrifying than the black mist that invaded Lu Ming's body. The black mist didn't consume the forbidden energy at such a fast speed. What are you doing? Hurry up and get to work. Dawdling here is disrespectful to the gods. If the gods are angry and send down divine punishment, no one can save you. At this moment, a loud shout was heard. A burly man walked over and glared at Lu Ming. He was holding a leather whip in his hand. This burly man was also a human. He seemed to be the manager here. Yes, yes. Lu Ming nodded repeatedly and pretended to go to the side to work. After the manager left, Lu Ming's figure flashed and also left. Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief after leaving the mine cave. There wasn't that kind of light outside the mine. The mine contains terrifying light, but the people of the Yen tribe are fine. However, Qiu and I were attacked. Could it be related to the bloodline of the Yen tribe? Thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He started to speculate based on the clues he had. Although the Yen tribe was also a human, they were born on this continent. In terms of bloodline, they were definitely different from Lu Ming. Perhaps it was because of the bloodline of the Yen tribe that they weren't attacked by that kind of light. If other living beings entered, they would be attacked by that kind of light. Therefore, the heavenly human tribe didn't enter, but stayed outside. Perhaps the heavenly human tribe pretended to be gods and controlled the people on this continent so that they could dig for ores for them. No, it's just digging for ores. There's no need to go through so much trouble. It's enough to deter them with a powerful force. Moreover, they're still absorbing the power of faith. Lu Ming frowned slightly. Lu Ming still couldn't figure out why they were absorbing the power of faith. Let's leave this place first and observe in secret. Lu Ming thought for a while. Then he used the great imitation art and transformed into the other, Yen, tribe member he saw in the mine. He swaggered out. There didn't seem to be any restrictions on leaving this place. However, there would be people checking to see if they had secretly taken the Ice Fire Star silver out. Lu Ming easily passed the check and left the mine area. After leaving the mine area, Lu Ming used the great concealing art again and hid in the dark. He mainly observed the 5 heavenly human tribe members. For the first 2 days, he didn't find anything. On the 3rd day, he finally found something. Another heavenly human tribe member arrived. This heavenly human tribe member had a cultivation of the 2nd level of the Divine Master Realm. When he landed on the tallest mountain peak, the previous 5 celestial race cultivators all nodded and bowed respectfully towards this person. Finally, the 1st level Divine Master Heavenly Human tribe member took out a storage ring and handed it to the 2nd level Divine Master Heavenly Human tribe member. Chapter 4565. Could it be that the extracted Ice Fire Star Silver is inside? Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a fiery light. This was very likely. Through his observations over the past few days, He knew that the ice fire star silver extracted from the mines would be handed over to the 5 celestial beings every day. And now, this second-layer divine master expert might also be here to collect the ice fire star silver. There might be more than one mine on this continent, and the experts of the celestial race were obviously not limited to these few. Therefore, it was reasonable that there would be people collecting the ice fire star silver from various mines. The second-layer divine master, heavenly human, took the storage ring and checked its contents. He nodded and left. Lu Ming followed him quietly. He could not miss out on the ice fire star silver. Lu Ming had planned to observe for a few more days before taking action to kill the 5 celestial beings and take the ice fire star silver from them. Now that the ice fire star silver might be taken away by this second-layer divine master, Lu Ming naturally had his eyes on this person. After following him for a long distance, Lu Ming took action when he passed by a secluded area. Without wasting any time, Lu Ming used the heaven-breaking style, turning into a dazzling ray of light that pierced toward this celestial being. With Lu Ming's strength, this sudden attack gave the other party no chance to retaliate. By the time this celestial being discovered, it was already too late. Poof! This celestial being was pierced by the spear light, his body exploded, and he died on the spot. With a wave of his hand, Lu Ming grabbed this celestial being's storage ring. Then, with a fire, this celestial being's corpse was completely reduced to ashes, leaving no trace behind. Then, with a flash, he left the place. Hundreds of thousands of miles away, Lu Ming took out the storage ring and began to search. There were other storage rings in the storage ring, and Lu Ming patiently looked through them one by one. Lu Ming skimmed through the other items and found nothing. Ice Fire Star Silver. Finally, Lu Ming found the Ice Fire Star Silver in one of the storage rings. With a thought, a Longan-sized piece of metal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The color of the metal was very strange. There were 2 kinds of light flowing on it. One was crimson red, while the other was dark blue. The 2 lights seemed to blend together without any sense of disharmony. Furthermore, there were specks of light shining on it like starlight. That was why it was called Ice Fire Star Silver. This piece is only about 10 grams. This Ice Fire Star Silver is really light. Lu Ming sighed. The Longan-sized piece of Ice Fire Star Silver only weighed about 10 grams. It was not much heavier than cotton. It was rare to see such a light metal. If it was the black sky source gold, a Longan-sized piece would be heavier than a meteorite. Lu Ming checked the storage ring. There were a total of 30 pieces of Ice Fire Star Silver in the storage ring. Each piece was about 10 grams. 30 yuan added up to 300 grams. 300 grams wasn't even enough to refine a source-grade divine weapon. Refining a source-grade divine weapon required about half a kilogram. As for Qiu, if he wanted to completely neutralize the impurities in his body, he would need 5 kilograms. This was far from enough. Eat, I want to eat. Qiu cried out impatiently. Here. Lu Ming gave all 30 pieces of Ice Fire Star Silver to Qiu, who swallowed them in one gulp. Then, Qiu showed a satisfied expression. Delicious, really delicious. Unfortunately, there's too little. It's not enough for me to neutralize the impurities. I think there's more than one mine. Let's go to other places and see if there are any other mines. Lu Ming said. He then used the great imitation art to transform into the second-layer divine master, heavenly human, and swaggered off in a certain direction. Of course, before he left, he let out the Yen tribe man that he had placed in the primitive ring. This continent was too vast. He flew for more than a day before he finally found a mine. There really is another mine. I wonder if the metal in this mine is Ice Fire Star Silver. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming thought as he swaggered toward the tallest mountain. He had already discovered that there were 5 heavenly human race experts on this mountain. 1 first-layer divine master and 4 ninth-layer divine emperor, heavenly human elders. As Lu Ming landed, the 5 heavenly human race experts hurriedly bowed. "Hand over your harvest during this time to me," Lu Ming said in a commanding tone. "Why did Lord Yu come to collect Ice Fire Star silver this month? Wasn't it always Lord Wuxin?" The first layer divine master, heavenly human, asked in surprise. "It really is Ice Fire Star silver." Lu Ming inwardly rejoiced, but he did not show it on his face. "Wuxin just happened to have some matters to attend to and needs to enter seclusion, so I'll do it in his place. However, there are still 3 days before the 1-month deadline. Lord Yiling Tianshou has set a rule that every mine will only collect the Ice Fire Star silver after the 30-day deadline. Lord Yu has come to collect it ahead of time. It seems to be against the rules. I'd better ask Lord Yiling Tianshou first." The first layer divine master, heavenly human, said. He then took out a message transmission jade talisman and prepared to send a message. He did not suspect that this Lord Yu in front of him was someone else in disguise. He just felt that it was against the rules and was afraid of being punished. So he decided to ask the true manager of this continent, Yiling Tianshou. "They're really seeking death." Lu Ming inwardly sighed. Originally, if these people handed over the Ice Fire Star silver to him, he would retreat and not do anything. He did not want to alert the enemy and make it harder to get more Ice Fire Star silver. But now, these people wanted to send a message to the heavenly human race above, so Lu Ming had no choice but to act. "Dish!" Lu Ming struck his finger like a spear, pointing at the first layer divine master's forehead. This person had never imagined that Lu Ming would suddenly attack him, so he simply could not dodge. In truth, even if he knew that Lu Ming was going to attack him, he would not have been able to dodge. The difference in power between the two was too great. Plush! Blood splattered everywhere. The man's forehead was pierced, and his soul was annihilated in an instant. His eyes widened in disbelief, as if he could not believe that Lu Ming would suddenly attack him. With a thud, the man's corpse fell to the ground. The other 4 ninth-layer great god realm elders of the heavenly human race were stunned. They stared blankly at Lu Ming, forgetting to run. "Dish! Dish! Dish!" Lu Ming flicked his finger, and 4 spear lights shot out, killing the 4 ninth-layer great god realm elders of the heavenly human race. The 4 heavenly human race elders were severely injured, and they were unable to fight anymore. Then, with a wave of his hand, he put the 5 heavenly human race elders into the ancient desolation ring. The reason why Lu Ming spared the 4 heavenly human elders was that Lu Ming had some questions to ask these heavenly humans. Also, Lu Ming wanted to find out the exact location of the other mines so that he would not fly around like a headless fly. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.